They should put that at the front menu when the game loads up.
Eiyuden Chronicle Rising.
I mean, the Final Fantasy 16 guys sing the names of their characters, right?
Same thing. Same
Shiva, Ramu, Titan.
thing. Same exact thing. Just have Jeff do it.
Are
You
you
should have
doing
had Jeff do that part.
Just have me do it in like a Nathan Lane type voice. It'll be great.
Ramu
Rising.
Shiva.
Oh man.
Oh boy. All right, well, let's start this episode. There's so much to talk about. This has been, even though it's not E3, it's also kind of E3 time of the year. And it's just really exciting because you have presentations and news and reveals and stuff to talk about, new trailers, stuff to be disappointed about, stuff to be really upset about. It's all great. It's all
Which
good.
is all of it, really. Everyone's disappointed about everything. Nothing's good enough. God of War is not anywhere.
It's all good fun. And who knows? I mean, this week we still have things from Capcom, from Square, and who knows, Nintendo could always announce a Direct coming up this week or next out of nowhere because it's been a while since they've had a major Direct, but they might not. They might hold off. They might be happy with just injecting essentially commercials into the Summer Game Fest, which is what they did, because they're doing great. Nintendo's making a lot of money, so they're like we're fine.
Yeah. We'll just sell you ad space. How about that?
They're counting their money like we don't need a Direct. But anyway, we'll get to all of that stuff. We have a lot of stuff to react to, but most importantly, because we're not going to be able to cover everything, this show would be 8 hours long. We're actually going to really quickly skim through a lot of that stuff when we get to it. But this is the first time we've put up some actual reactions to stuff. And so Dan, especially, thank you for doing that, piecing together videos of us watching it together, responding in real time. So go check that out on YouTube only, though. So if you're just listening on podcast, you got to go to our YouTube channel and check that out.
Our YouTube channel is an official name now, right? Because we have
we've actually gotten a few this month.
YouTube.com/currentgen podcast. Let me just double check that actually.
Yeah, it's podcast is in there. We've actually gotten a few more subscribers. I think about 4 or 5. So we're getting there. Man. We're getting there, boys. We're slowly climbing.
We are so famous, dude.
Yep, that'll get you there. /currentgen podcast, no spaces, or just search for us.
I can't believe guys as famous as us made time for this. So cool.
I know. We're the best.
I just want to apologize if anyone genuinely finds the audio a little here and there on the reactions. It's the first time I've made one of those, so I did the best I could.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's not that much lower than how like Easy Allies does their reactions.
Sure,
and stuff.
I prefer hearing the people talk.
Same.
And watching it, but again, we watched the shows prior, so that's kind of like a second viewing. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah. But
yeah.
All right. Well, so thank you, Dan, for doing that, and we'll continue to. If you guys like that stuff, if we get feedback from those of you who are listening and watching, we're happy to keep doing that because that's fun for us too. But we will also keep doing this podcast where we ramble for probably way too long, and that's okay. We'll keep doing
too long. Way too long.
Even Joe Rogan is like, "Can you stop with the long episodes?"
You're not even smoking weed. Why are you talking for so
Dude,
long?
he sent me an email and he was like, "Guys, like you're in my space. Get out of here."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We are really stealing a lot of his audience, which is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're gonna kick things off with stuff we're watching and playing. Maybe a couple of general headlines that have popped up, sort of outside of these presentations, and then we'll do our best to kind of hit highlights of the presentations we cared about. That way, if we all run out of steam, it's been a pretty busy last several days, we might kind of look at each other and go like, are we good? We're good. Everyone else, we're good. And then we can just cut it at some point. But we'll start with stuff we're watching and playing because there's a lot of exciting things that I know we're all consuming at the moment. Let's start with what we're watching, which a lot of times we do last, or sometimes we cut for time. Let's just kick it off right there because I know Disney Plus launched a new show, which I truly intended to watch, but I've been watching other stuff and I haven't seen the first episode.
You can just wait for this one to, finish out. I guess it's
so the Dan
you normally do that, right?
The Dan method.
I do a lot of times, but with Obi-Wan, I've been watching that as it comes out because I'm very excited about it. And despite the fact, I think I'm not here to talk about Obi-Wan, but just as an example, I think that show, there's legitimate criticisms you could make in a calm, collected manner of, hey, they could have done this to make it better, or maybe that's not the best.
Hey, you don't say that.
But I am having so much fun with that show because I freaking love Star Wars. And so even I can't watch anything Star Wars or even Lord of the Rings where I'm not going like, well, that's not totally realistic. Like if I have that mindset, I'm not having fun. So
sure,
I'm having a lot of fun.
Those specific ones, especially, are I consider them fantasy. I know Star Wars is in space, but to me, it's all fantasy and magical mumbo jumbo. So
I will say real quick though, from this last week's episode, I still love this show. But when they're trying to sneak her out under his like trench coat and her little legs walking beside him, I did laugh out loud that he was making it through hundreds of enemy soldiers.
Well, it's the same as like her running in the forest and maybe
What it made
being
me
like
think
how...
of was in I forget which Austin Powers when he's riding on Mini-Me's
Oh,
shoulders.
Yeah.
It made me think of that. But sorry, I'm not saying the show's bad at all. I really enjoy the show, but that did make me laugh because I was like,
Suspension
Yeah,
of
there's some
disbelief.
silly stuff like that going on in
Suspension
the
of
show.
disbelief.
Yeah, regularly.
But again, I keep thinking back to like what makes Star Wars good and who's it for. Everything from even the Jar Jar decision, 20 plus years ago now.
Mhm.
You can go back and watch that and you're like, this was for kids, and they kind of nailed it. Like my kids think Jar Jar is hilarious because they saw that movie for the first time when they were super young, you
Yeah.
know? And so they think it's just kind of fun.
Who's this weird talking guy?
It's kind of a fun kids element of a overall somewhat serious story. So anyway,
Mhm.
I digress from Star Wars stuff. Let's talk about
Yeah.
Miss Marvel
So
general.
I think I was the only one present that saw the first episode. I don't even know if
haven't watched
Kyle
any of them.
saw it. But I came away very impressed with the first episode. I was kind of surprised at how impressed I was by it because they're clearly trying to do something with the show itself on a cinematic level to make it more visually interesting. Like there are certain choices that they make with the camera, like and how kinetic it is and how it's constantly like moving in interesting ways, and how like when she's texting her best friend Bruno, who we don't talk about him, but best friend's name is Bruno.
God
Good
damn it.
one. Good one.
And they're texting each other, and their text messages are appearing in like the environment in the background behind them. It's like he'll be texting by a restaurant, and then the neon sign and have her message to him or whatever.
That almost gives me
really
like Scott
cool.
Pilgrim vibes.
Yeah, it's like Scott Pilgrim a little bit. It's a little kinetic like that, but not as Edgar
The trailer
Wright.
did look Scott Pilgrim-esque, didn't it?
Yeah.
A little bit.
And it's definitely more like upbeat, and I mean everything really in general is kind of more kinetic with the show because she's like a high schooler, and so it's got more of that Spider-Man Homecoming vibe where everything's just moving a much faster pace. In terms of dialogue and how quickly she's got to get things done to go to like this Avengers Con, which is apparently the first time they've ever done an Avengers Con, which is kind of insane to me, considering how long the Avengers have existed within the MCU. If you think about it that way,
that's
you're
true.
like nobody's ever thought of having one.
They've been too busy. They've been trying to fight, aliens and Thanos and all sorts of nonsense. People dying.
They were also kind of like
Snap.
hated for a hot minute.
Yeah, they were. I think people were mixed on them after New York.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then when they brought back half the freaking universe,
Right. Like,
I
all right,
think
let's
people
have a
were like,
convention
okay.
for these guys.
Yeah. Let's.
So there's actually quite a bit of if you remember the intro of the Avengers game,
I
which
was
is
just
actually,
gonna
I still
ask
argue
you
is
about
really good.
Excellent intro. Excellent.
There's some of that here too, with the Avengers Con, where she's dressed up. She's dressing up as Captain Marvel. It's like a cosplay contest with other people dressing up as Captain Marvel, and I was like, this is giving me so many vibes. Like her walking around the con and seeing all the Iron Man displays and the Hulk displays, and I'm like, this is just like the A-Day thing with the Avengers game, which was one of my favorite parts of that game. So
same. That was enough to make me buy a full copy because Derek had a copy on Steam. So I was able to log in as him, try it out a little bit. I was like, dude, this is good enough to want to sit on my couch and play on my PlayStation. So I went and bought it there full price but then of course we've talked about this plenty.
Yeah.
I don't like the way it goes, but the opening was great. So I like that they're doing that with this show too.
And Kamala has always been like she was the heart of that game more or less. And she was like the thing that I kind of latched onto in the story. And I feel like they're kind of nailing that here. Like the actress that they cast, it has great comedic timing and stuff. She hasn't really done much with the powers yet, but the powers are very different in the game and I think in the comics.
Yeah, people were kind of pissed about something.
So this
something
is
to do with,
more like
force
it's
fields?
a bracelet. Yeah, it's more like a bracelet that she found, like an artifact that her grandma had or something, and she found it and she was like, I'll just wear this with my costume, and then it has powers on it. So like, surprise. Gotcha. So that's where that is kind of, and she kind of like the episode ends with her kind of like discovering what the powers are. So that's where we are in the journey. We still don't know like much about a villainous entity or anything yet. I mean, it's very early.
Sure.
So far though, I was more impressed with it than I was like rolling my eyes or anything. Like I was
I was gonna say I've heard people talk about. I actually heard someone mention that they like seeing a portrayal of a kind of more conservative religious family and her trying to grow up in that. Like they don't do that a lot in the Marvel universe.
No,
but there's a lot of people who deal with that. Like they were raised in kind of a conservative religious upbringing, and of course, in this case, she's from a conservative Muslim family. But I think a lot of people can relate to this idea of parents having very kind of spiritual and religious guidelines that kind of supposed to guide your life. So she's trying to balance that with, public school and everything else going on.
Yeah. And there's plenty of that stuff.
I think that's really interesting.
Clashing with their parents.
I'm interested in
plenty of, or I guess her mom and her uncle. Plenty of that stuff with them being at odds with each other, which I do find interesting. Yeah, so far so good.
Cool.
We'll circle back when it's over.
Okay. How many episodes on this one?
Unless it gets dramatically worse or dramatically like the best thing ever, where I talk about all the time, or But 6 episodes. Yeah.
6 episodes.
So they're sticking to the 6.
Yeah, I'm not too mad about that. They got to make that stuff.
Yeah. It doesn't overstay its welcome at that length. I think that's good.
I agree.
You're also watching some Orville, which is finding new life on Hulu now.
Yeah.
Orville.
And it is
Orville Redenbacher. Is this a popcorn show? Or?
So remind people what this show is, right?
Who did the popcorn stuff? That's what this is about.
Right.
This is like a Star Trek adjacent type of show. It has nothing to do with Star Trek, but Seth MacFarlane wanted to make his own sci-fi show. He's a huge sci-fi nerd.
Oh, it's not Star Trek.
No, it's not at all. But people that like Star Trek do love this show, genuinely.
Oh, okay.
Because it has a very much a spirit of Star Trek, where like every episode is like its own mission or whatever you have to go do, and then there's obviously an overarching story that will end up being told that has to do more with character relationships to each other. Like that's the part that kind of tethers it through the whole season, but every episode is its own thing. And like some of the episodes are just kind of like there's storylines that you really wouldn't see in a Star Trek, because they're kind of dealing with real world problems, but like in space. Or with like different alien races. Like one alien race is all male and they all are capable of like, they're just asexual. They can like lay eggs and stuff. And
sounds amazing.
If one of the babies is a female, if one of the babies is a female, they change the sex to male at birth. Much like a circumcision, basically, but obviously much more invasive.
Yeah. That's actually the connection.
The entire episode is like this is season 1, by the way. The entire episode's got like this whole philosophical debate about like, well, it's this alien's culture. Are we just supposed to like crap all over it and go, no, it needs to stay a woman? Or like, it's got this whole interesting conversation about that. And I'm like, you would never put this in a Star Trek. It's like way too.
It's weird that this show has some serious elements. I thought it was just a spoof. I thought it was just a spoof on Star Trek.
That's the thing. I think it was being marketed as like a spoof or parody.
That's why I never watched it. I rolled my eyes at it. I was like,
there's some comedy in it, but it's mostly like a serious thing. Like it's mostly just it's mostly just almost like a Star Trek show, like a Galaxy Quest.
I really thought it was
Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, Galaxy Quest is amazing, but it's not on that level where like the comedy is like hitting that hard. Some of the comedy is really good. They do have like an AI alien race on the ship, and he's one of those like Data type of characters from Star Trek who's like, I don't understand. Is this humor? Like he's one of those types of guys, but like the jokes that they make at his expense are really like, they pranked him by putting a Mr. Potato Head stuff on him, and he obviously he doesn't feel it when you touch it on his face, so he didn't know that it was there. But his reaction to that prank was to cut off somebody's leg. He's like, it was a prank. It will grow back.
It was a prank.
Because they had the technology to grow back the limb, so like it wasn't a big deal or whatever.
It's a totally proportional response. Totally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Honestly, that's how I want to respond in real life sometimes.
And the guy who's like who's part of the alien race that is only male and they can lay their own eggs and stuff, he's really funny too. He's very, very serious. And he does get humor and sarcasm and stuff, but his delivery of certain lines is just so freaking funny. It's just genuinely a good show. And the move to Hulu was a good move. I think they got a better budget with it, and it just it's really good so far. I'm all caught up.
Nice.
All caught up.
Mr. Teague has entered.
He has.
Party's over.
Can you hear me?
Are you naked under that blanket that you have on?
Can't.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's probably like 100 degrees down there. So,
dude, this is not the magic. This is not the Magic Mike contest.
It's the Magic Derek contest.
Jeez Louise.
Do you have pants on at least? Please tell us you have pants.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right. Well, we just started a little bit ago. Anything else you guys are watching? Oh, you're watching It's Always Sunny rewatch. Huh?
Yeah, that's
yeah, me too. Yeah, me
Yeah, Dan mentioned he was watching it, and I actually started watching because you were talking about it, Tim.
So funny.
So I am past the first 2 seasons. Where are you, Dan?
Are you listening? Are you going back to the podcast too with this, or no? You already listened.
No,
to
since I've already listened. Like I'm caught up on the podcast. I didn't go back.
Okay.
But Dan, where are you on the show?
Season 2. Oh, what the hell? Oh, the boxing one. The boxing.
Oh my God,
yeah.
the $100 baby, yeah.
$100
baby.
They start taking the supplements.
Oh my gosh, and they get so mad in each other's
So
faces.
aggressive.
And dude, at the end, her neck on the chair, and my wife was like, "She's dead, right? Like she's absolutely dead, right?" Like I was like, I mean, I guess maybe.
I mean, that's literally the movie $1 Million Baby. That's what happens. So,
all right.
yeah.
Well, spoilers.
Yep.
I mean, it's a.
I mean, sarcastically, obviously. Yeah, I don't.
20 years almost.
Yes.
Oh man. That's
Yeah.
cool.
That Danny DeVito's just running out of the ring. I'm out of here.
Yeah, he just bails.
He totally bails.
And that's where the Charlie gift comes from, where he's doing
Right,
this.
yeah, he's doing that.
Yeah.
I sensed it coming. I was like, "This is the scene, right? This is the scene."
This is the scene. He's wearing the clothes from the gift.
He's wearing the clothes.
It's so
I
funny.
also love when I love when I discovered and now I'm forgetting which episode it was, but where he does the conspiracy theory. Oh, it's the post office. He's working in the mail room on that one. He's working in the mail room.
Yeah.
And that's where he's like doing the conspiracy theory thing. He's all crazy eyes. Like,
Yeah.
so good.
I
What a great
do
show.
recall feeling like the first few seasons were not as good as later seasons, and I
They're
still
so good,
argue
though.
that's true. But the first seasons are still so funny.
They're so
Dude.
funny. They're still
Yeah.
better than most comedies that are out there. So
Yeah, I
even if they're
agree.
not, even if it gets better, it's still better than a lot of other
It
shows.
is.
And
imagine it getting better from here. Like it
Right.
truly does.
Right.
Get so much better.
And I remember Tim mentioning when you said you were rewatching them, you're like, there are things they do that, like, it's just how do you even get it? Like the jihad tape, how do you get away with that? How? And then the building
Yeah.
blows up and the FBI shows
Yeah.
up. You're like, we have something to.
Hey, can you explain this? He just goes, oh.
Dude, in that jihad episode when they get stuck between the fence and the wall,
Yeah,
they talk on the podcast about how that was like they didn't really intend for it to go that way, but they just kept rolling. Like they talk about
yeah.
that whole scene, how they like it wasn't. Anyway, they kind of played it
improv'd.
up. It was really funny, man. What a freaking funny show.
Yeah. And Danny
Um,
DeVito saying "hooer" never stops making me laugh. Never stop. My wife, who was a hooer.
the way he says it. Yeah, he's great. He is great.
And like when Dee goes to bribe somebody and she gets shot down and he's like automatically Danny DeVito's like, oh, so he thinks you're too old. And she's like, no, God damn it, you're the worst dad ever. And so he runs with that as his truth. He's just like, he turned her down because she's too old.
Oh my gosh.
He's
Yeah,
just like the worst person. It's
What
so
a good
funny.
show.
They're all the worst. I mean, they're all well,
That's
except
true.
for
They all are.
Dee's not actually
are
that
terrible.
bad. I mean,
She
has,
is though,
like-
man. She is.
Is she? Does she get
Yeah.
worse?
I mean,
It's bad.
the whole father. You haven't got. I don't think you've gotten to it.
All
with
the stuff
right.
with
the
Cricket
priest.
is real bad. Like
Yeah.
she's pretty bad. But funny. But she's
Yes.
pretty bad.
They're all terrible.
At first, they even talk about this in the podcast. At first, her character was too much like, "Come on, guys, this is too crazy." And then over
Yeah.
time, they really let her kind of become her own
right,
version
okay.
of crazy.
Well, that
Which
makes
is
sense.
great because she's hilarious naturally, and just the way she says "damn it," like it.
Yeah, yeah.
She's just so funny when she's flustered.
I love that show.
Yeah, me too.
All right, well, Derek has joined us, and it's perfect timing. We're about to start talking about stuff we're playing, and I'm going to kick that off with The Quarry. Now, to be really clear, I'm the one loser who hasn't played Until Dawn out of this group,
Boo.
but
Loser.
I am playing this game. I did buy this game. It was on CD keys for 40
Wow.
bucks,
It's a-
and so
a
I
good
bought
deal.
it, and I started it up this afternoon. I only got about, I'm in chapter 1, right? I did the prologue, and
Yeah,
then I'm
me
into
too.
chapter 1. So I have an idea of like what the vibe is, how it looks. Like the only issue that I think I'm gonna have with this game is the character face
Controls.
animations are a little bit
Ah.
like at times I'm like, man, that looks good, and at times I'm like, why does her face look weirdly pudgy on one side? Like sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes it's not working.
Or
But
angles. Yeah.
it's yeah. Like for example, when the two girls are riding in the golf cart. If you do the
Mm.
scenic route, and then the one who's supposed to be like the pretty one talking to her face looks really weird. Like I don't know what happened with the way they mapped
Yeah.
it. Like
She's that actress is in the
Looks-
Orville, by the way, in the first
Oh,
season
really?
of Orville. Yeah, and
I take
yeah,
it back.
she did.
Her face looks great.
The way that
Oh.
she talks was like in the game was like almost like her cheeks don't touch her teeth. It's
Yeah.
really
There's something.
weird.
Yeah. So it's one of those things.
She
where
doesn't
it's-
talk like
it's-
that in real life. I
it's
don't
the-
get it.
It's the uncanny valley thing where it's like
think
the
so.
faces aren't quite right.
Yeah.
That is my only issue so far because I think
I'll be honest though, there's only a couple models that act like that, and she's one of them. Emma, I think,
That's
is the
fair.
character name.
Yeah.
She's one of them, but everybody else to me plays it so
Looks great.
natural, like
Yeah.
it looks great.
I
So.
think the vibe of this thing, the kind of creepiness they set up at the beginning, the decisions they kind of teach, and I love the little like almost Fallout style instructional videos to tell you like how
Yeah,
The
decisions are made.
QTE. Yeah.
QTE instructions. So I'm really digging the style of this, but I am pretty early. What do you guys think? As a non Until Dawn, I'm not into all these games like you
You're
guys
not
are.
initiated.
I'm not initiated, but I am enjoying it so far. But what do you guys think? You guys are bigger fans of this.
Derek's the
tonight.
furthest, right? You actually beat it, Derek?
So I spent the whole day at work watching the whole movie. So I
Sure.
watched the whole movie. I just started.
So
I'm
you
only
played
in. I'm in chapter 2 of my playthrough.
Okay.
But like I know everything. This is one of those weird games where it's like, did you beat it? Like you
Sure.
can literally buy the game and just put it in movie mode. So I don't
can,
really care
yeah.
about beating it. Like
Well, talk about movie mode. I thought that was cool. There's 3 options, right, that you can do with movie mode.
yeah, like you can basically do this game however you want. Like you can just not play it at all, just put it in movie mode. You can do the full controls, which is what I'm doing, which is just QTE. It's a lot of walking around, lots of conversations, and then quick time events that are like seriously super easy. Like push up, and they give you a long time.
They're all
to
arrow
push
based
up.
now, and not button
Yeah.
based. Yeah.
So you're not like guessing on buttons and stuff like that. And a lot of them make sense. Like for instance, the part Tim was talking about where they're riding in the cart. Well, she's driving and you can see they show you, oh, she's about ready to hit something. So you know she's got to turn. She's not going to go up or down. So you know it's going to be left or right. So they tell you to go, I think it was right. So I pushed right.
So there's some logic behind it.
There's logic behind it. But the other thing you can do is you can set the game up to play the movie or the whole game be played where everybody survives or everybody dies.
Yeah.
Like you get to choose
Or the
whatever you
director's
want.
cut where you pick on the way. So
Who
like along
survives and who
so there's
dies.
3 movie modes, which I thought was really creative. Like just watch it where everyone dies, watch it where everyone lives, or decide along the way. You're in the director's chair. I just thought that was really creative the way they let you do that if you want.
So I don't personally find these games to be fun to play. They're not fun to play.
Yeah.
I just like the atmosphere, and I'm not a horror guy, so I know there's a lot of horror movies out there that probably once you guys get through the whole thing have probably touched on their narrative and what they do, but I personally felt, and I don't remember until Dawn exactly how it played out. I would actually have to rewatch it. But I felt like this one was better. There isn't any big holes either, like with the way they start mixing everything in and out, that you could be like, oh, there's a plot hole there's a plot hole there. I feel like they did a good job of making sense of stuff that you see early on and how it's explained later.
Oh, cool.
Or why this like going back, and now I'm playing a second time because I know who every character is. I know who's the villains, who's not. I know the whole story. I can now pay attention to their behaviors, pay attention to how they act, the things they say, and I'm like, oh, that's why he was being so this way, because he's this person, which you didn't know when you first play it. So I don't think they're fun to play. I'm not saying they're terrible. The controls can be a little wonky, like where you think you're walking in one direction and the camera shifts and you're walking in a different direction, and they're a little sluggish. But I think for me, this was worth $40, investing in it, owning it. It looks great on PC, running at native 4K and ultra settings at 60 frames per second. It looks great. It's story wise is why I invested in it. It's why I ended up watching it. I mean, the playthrough I watched was almost 8 hours long, so I spent my entire workday watching this guy play it.
It's a long movie, right?
That is a long movie.
And then after that, I went and I wanted to know, because here's the thing. People are making fun of this game online because they're like, there's 100 and something endings.
Really?
There's like 180 something
Sure,
endings.
like minor little things.
I didn't know
right?
that.
Yeah, well, and that's what they're making fun of. Like, there's really only one ending, and then it's just the poster is here, and then it's moved over here, and that's another ending. Yes, I get that, but I actually want to compliment this game as somebody who watched the guy beat it, then watched all the other endings, and now is going to get his own when I play it. there are a lot of things you can change. No, it does not change the story, which is why they have unrealistic expectations of what multiple endings are. Just change the entire narrative. No, they have one overarching story. What you're changing is, yes, it's who lives, who dies, but also it's like, without spoiling it, there's certain things that it's not these people are bad, these people are good. There's a lot of gray as you go through the story. So that's kind of why I liked it, is because I was like, oh, it's not this person is bad or this person is good. They're all neutral. And you have to decide for yourself who should live, who should die. And it does change the narrative. Like, the endings are pretty dramatic. You won't know they're dramatic, though, unless you either A, play the game again, or B, go on YouTube and watch other people's endings.
Yeah.
You can literally, without spoiling it, there's endings where you can literally miss the entire end of the game, the ending of the game.
Yeah.
Where you can
That's
just
cool.
end the game and you can think this is your ending and not realize there's a whole nother part afterwards that kind of explains the story a little bit more. Again, nothing majorly dramatic, but my point is I saw one review. I didn't read the whole review, but he was just basically like, this doesn't have a bunch of endings. And I was like, you didn't do any research. You don't know what you're talking about. But I have nothing but compliments. It wasn't a game I was planning on buying. It was just, I went on CD Keys. I saw it was 40. I was like, that's $30 off compared to consoles.
That's a great deal.
That's a good deal.
like,
That's why I couldn't say no to it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and I always justify it because I actually bought it with Saints Row, which was $35. I was like, $75
the new one that's coming out?
Yeah, the new one.
Oh, wow.
I pre-ordered Saints Row for $35.
Wow, dude.
So I'm like, $75. I'm getting 2 games.
We're not officially endorsing CD Keys, by the way. They could be shady. We just use them a lot. That's all we're saying.
But if they want to give us some.
And then I just do pay in 4. And the reason I do that is because it mentally makes me feel better that I'm only paying $18 every 2 weeks for 2 games. So I don't have a problem doing that. That's why I don't mind buying a bunch of games. So anyways, I got a really good deal on it. I think it's worth it. Is it going to be my game of the year? No. It's just something I'm kind of mini obsessed with, but I'm playing, and I'm not going to talk on my own now so other people can talk about the Quarry, but there's some other games that I'm more invested in right now, but this one was one that hooked me the whole day. I actually texted my girlfriend and told her, I hope she didn't listen to the show, a lie. I'm like, I'm running late because I'm working on a project.
You need me to cut this part out? I might cut that out for you. We'll see. We'll see what kind of.
Just a long bleep.
I'm working on a project at work, which I was working on a project at work, but I really stayed late to watch all the endings.
Play a game. My first nope moment was right at the beginning when their car starts veering off the road, and then real quickly you see someone in the back seat. I was like, nope, I already hate this game. But no, I love it.
There's actually several moments like that of background ghost moments, and you got to like really keep your eye out because it'll be like literally like you blink and you miss it.
Right?
The flashlight I don't even across the trees.
I gotta tell you guys, I really don't think this game's that scary. So if somebody's listening and they're like,
everyone has this sort of threshold, right? Because like my wife likes watching me play these type of games. Like she loved LA Noire back in the day, especially because she's like into serial killer stuff because she's a weirdo.
That's like a Zodiac video game basically.
But she likes watching me play these stories because we're making the decisions and it's like, oh, what's gonna happen? But like, she doesn't like spooky stuff really. Like she
I don't like
there's
horror.
A difference.
Like I don't.
There's a difference between
disturbing
and scary. I do think there's a legitimate case you can make that, hey, this is going to be scary for some people. I don't find it. Yeah. I don't find I found it to be like, oh, this is kind of like thrilling, spooky. So like I feel like that's gonna be the vibe I get most of this game.
Yeah. See, that's what I find
like
so engaging about the game in general is like how it makes me feel. Me and my feelings. It's got me tense during like those moments where you have to hide and stuff like that. So that's the fun I find in these games is
there's some
stuff like
unsettling. That. I just didn't think it was like
super
scary.
Yeah.
And then
I got a pretty high threshold when it comes to that. I mean, I've done actual like ghost hunting, so I mean, I'm not. Really
I mean, again, I come back to it depends on how you define scary. I think thrilling can be scary for some people. I feel like some people don't consider it scary unless they've been disturbed visually, and I'm like, well, I don't need to be disturbed to be scared.
Some people are just scared of the dark, for example. Literally, just like the
Sure.
dark, just walking into it like they're petrified. So it's like even
So,
something.
so a game that has
yeah.
you trying to go through the dark where you can't see around you, that's
Right.
going to be really intense
Yeah,
and
yeah.
scary for them. So I
But-
see what you're saying, but I agree
Well,
with Derek.
me-
so
Yeah.
it sounds like playthrough wise,
Right.
it sounds like I'm
If-
further than Derek. Then I just didn't watch a playthrough because I'm in
Yeah,
chapter. I'm at the beginning of chapter 7, so
Okay.
I finished all the way through chapter 6. Everybody's alive, guys. They're not all okay though.
Whew.
Some people
Oh,
are going
they're
through
not
some
okay.
stuff.
some people's lives
Some
have been
people are
changed.
missing limbs. I don't know what to tell you.
All right.
They're in predicaments. Let me just say that. But they are still all alive, and some of them are really
Jeez.
segregated.
Do
but
you
yeah, there's
feel like you have a grasp of where the story's going without spoiling it? Just like,
Yes,
I think I
yes.
know how this is going to end.
there was an option early on. You had to shoot somebody, and I shot away from him, or I could have just not pulled the trigger. But I did it on purpose because he's not trying to hurt certain people. So I caught the hint early on, like some people are not evil. They're playing on the cliche in horror movies that you tend to see of like, oh, those guys got to be bad guys. Look at how they dress or whatever.
yeah.
So I paused. I was like, remember Tucker and Dale versus Evil? They're not always bad guys.
Well,
Mhm.
like literally in the first chapter, there's like 2 individuals that show up at the end of that chapter, and they're like, they look a certain way because they're covered in, and it's like,
yeah, but there's like
that almost seems too obvious.
They give you a reason for like all of that. Like
Yeah,
I've
as the
seen
story
Resident
goes
Evil.
on,
I know
it's
how
so
this goes.
good.
Yes.
So chapter 2, I think, is Truth or Dare, and that one is definitely the longest, most talky chapter. And if you can
Okay.
get through that, you're in for a
Yeah,
pretty.
it's the first couple
fast-paced
hours
kicker.
that are like kind of a lot of chit chat, right? So
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
ton of chit chat in that chapter, almost to the point where even which I have a high tolerance for that, even I'm like, can we just move it along here?
I actually
Yeah, it
felt
was-
that way too. I wanted to say that at the beginning where they're establishing kind
Very
of, hey,
teen drama.
These are normal college age teenager whatever people who are
Yeah.
all at camp, and there's some relationships. I got it really early on, but they kept talking about it, and I was like, can we?
I think what they're doing, I think what they did in chapter 2, and I know you can find out their names in pause menus or whatever, but in chapter 2, they're trying to get you to know, like, memorize their names and their faces. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not like
to really get to know
chapter
them,
4, they name drop somebody, and you're like, who the hell's that? Like, it's
I do like that
you
on the
don't have
speaking
that
of the
feeling
pause
who's
menu.
who.
The pause menu shows the face of the person you're controlling,
Yeah, that's an Until Dawn thing. Yeah.
which was really neat, and it kind of
Yeah.
look around and all that stuff. Kind of had
Yeah.
a Detroit Become Human vibes to me.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
face.
That's it. Yeah, that is interesting. That
Yeah.
it does do that. But yeah, I think this developer has been doing that in all their games so far.
Okay.
In the Dark Pictures, I think they do that as well.
See, rookie.
but-
I'm rookie
Yeah,
over here.
rookie, you're uninitiated, bro. But like, yeah, some of the gameplay stuff that's still there from Until Dawn. We mentioned the POV
Yeah.
walkiness where the camera shifts and you're like, wait, I'm walking backwards now. I got to go this way.
I mean,
Yeah.
But
why
this
can't
is
they
still
make
an
that-
improvement from Until Dawn in that area.
I just don't get why they have to move that way. Like, why can't they just move
It's more cinematic. It's more about what does this shot look
well, the
like?
camera can shift.
supposed
and
to be
that's
a movie,
fine,
you know?
But I'm saying literally the way that they move. It's almost kind of like how I was telling you
you're
guys and
saying
Derek
it's like
wasn't here.
unnatural, basically, or
Yeah, like with Mass Effect Andromeda, and Derek, you weren't here, so I was when I told these guys I was playing that, I was like, I can't fucking stand the controls of Andromeda. Like just when you're walking around, like because it's almost like I'm going this direction, and then it's like it takes me like 5 seconds to turn around in this direction. There's like this sort of like weird
It's a
sluggishness
little
to it.
wonky.
Yeah, and that
Mhm.
kind of reminds me of this game. Like their games kind
I
of have
see.
like this weird like weight to
And-
them, and
yeah, if you guys haven't played any of the Dark Pictures stuff, you which come out like once a year now, you
Yeah.
might not be as acclimated with the controls
Right.
because Until
the
Dawn
camera
was
angles
just the
and
same way.
yeah.
But so are those games. So
I
this
will
game is more of that,
say-
but I feel like this is definitely the A team of the developer because this is the best these games have looked, in my opinion.
But I also think I don't think it's a coincidence that they're two, and this one's going to be more successful than anything they've done, maybe aside from Until Dawn. It will be more successful just because it's on more consoles.
and
but-
I think more known people are in the game, like
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
famous people.
Yeah.
But
big
what I was going to
cast.
say is I feel like the reason why, if you look at Until Dawn and you look at The Quarry, clearly, and you look at horror genre in general, teens, especially at a camp, that's like what draws a lot of people, like inclling me.
It's
Yeah.
the slasher
Okay.
flicks. The slasher
So-
flicks.
while I would agree that the first 2 chapters, I thought the prologue or whatever was actually really good.
Yeah,
It
that was a
kinda
good
creepy. It was
that
a
was
great
supposed to be a
setup.
hook. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I totally I bit on the hook. That's actually why I was interested in buying the game, because I watched IGN's like prologue where they showed you it before months before the game came out.
Yeah.
And so anyways, my point is that I think the reason why they took the first 2 chapters is because they wanted to suck you in with, we're not going to be scary. We're just going to kind of introduce you to the characters, get you to like who we want you to like, get you to hate who we want you to hate.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be, through the rest of this game, there's still going to be relationship talk, but a lot of it's going to be a lot of choices on who you're going to let get hurt, who you're going to let die, that type of stuff, who you care about. So I think they did a good job. Yes, it could be a little chatty or whatever, but I think they did a good job of getting you to like who you're going to like. And this is, in the horror area, having teens out in the middle of nowhere getting hunted is what a lot of people like. So I think this game will be really successful. I think they did a great job. I think they did a good job like tying the story all together. They explain, because for me, this is just me, I always am like, why can't we just have a game that's like, where, I'm not gonna spoil it, but can we just have like a Scream type game where it's actual humans against humans?
Sure.
Like, that's what I want.
That's you
and
talking like a genuine slasher, because these are all like supernatural type games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why can't we just have that? And because I don't always like, story-wise, I'm talking story-wise, how they explain or incorporate the supernatural. I'm like,
Yeah.
that took away from everything that I cared about the game.
Little
I think
X-Files
Until
like-
Dawn was like at a psych ward. So they had to explain
Yeah.
the entire background of the psych ward and who each ghost was, and like there was a lot of loose threads in that game, if I recall correctly.
And that's why
even though I
didn't
like that game a lot.
Until Dawn as much as the Quarry, because I feel like the Quarry does a better job with the narrative of
I'm feeling
tying
it.
everything
In chapter 6, I
together.
started feeling that come together.
So tell me, as a newcomer to this developer, at least to these games, do I need to be exploring and searching everything? Does it help me later to have discovered
Yeah, because
clues?
it's the cards, right? There's
some
It
cards.
keeps telling me that I've discovered a clue and another clue, and I'm like, oh, do I need to do this? Otherwise, my options
Not
later are
so
limited.
much. These clues aren't, and that was one of the knocks I saw, was like Until Dawn, you were actually investigating and you needed the clues. This game, it's not like the clues lead you to like discovering doing something or some information you won't gather when you go through the story. Everything's kind of already laid out. I think the clues and stuff like that kind of just give the player, as they're playing, little bits of insight.
Okay.
That's all it is. It
But
doesn't
it's not
really
going to
lead
change the
to,
gameplay later if I don't.
it's not going to change the story really. It's
storyline,
not
yeah.
going to help you in a puzzle or anything
Because right
like
at the
that.
beginning, when you have control of the girl with the dyed red hair, and it tells you can explore the cabins,
Abby.
Mhm.
and that's a pretty big area. And I started walking around looking. I'm looking. I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss any clues. And I
Yeah.
was like, "There's no run button. This is taking me forever." I was like, "You know
Right,
what?
yeah.
I found like 2 things to investigate. I'm going to the golf cart. I'm
Yeah.
No,
tired
that would
because
be
it was
the
very
right
slow."
decision.
Okay. All right.
Well, there are some things I'm trying to remember. There were a couple things that I stumbled upon that I was like, oh, that seems like it could possibly
Right.
change things.
I did find something on
having
the
this
tree
tool.
in that section. I was like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
might be important," but
Right.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. But
I
anyway.
will say, and I can say it without spoiling, the thing that she finds on the tree, we're talking about what she sniffs.
Yeah.
It's just explained later. Like
Okay.
it's it didn't unlock anything where you're like,
Right.
if I didn't find that, I
Abby,
wouldn't
you'll
have known
remember
about
this.
it.
Mhm.
This makes it make sense.
Yeah, a lot of it
No.
is explained later. A lot of the clues you
Well,
find are
I
explained
guess you
later.
could argue that's a little bit of character development, especially with like her seeing
That's
the
all it is.
carving where it said like these 2 characters plus each other forever, and then someone scratched it out and put for summer, like things like that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so I mean that does add a little bit to the character development, I guess you could say. But it's good to know that I'm not gonna, if I decide to kind of plow through to the next main thing, I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about missing.
There's
investigating a song.
I definitely, much like with Telltale games and Life is Strange, sometimes you got to remember the best option, especially with these games. I've learned this with the Dark Pictures folks. They love doing this. The best option is to do nothing in a lot of situations. So I would say half my choices I've made have been doing nothing, not pressing a button, not shouting for somebody, not shooting a gun.
Ah.
And sometimes that pays off. That's so you get like a different, obviously that changes your whole roadmap.
When you're getting two things, you just assume I got to pick one. I got to pick one.
Yeah, and like sometimes there's just one option and you have a limited time frame to do it. Like there was something on the roof at one point and it gives me an option to shoot up there, and my brain is like, no, if I shoot up there, the roof's going to cave in and he's going to come through there because these cabins are old. So I just opted not to do it. So like there are some choices you could just choose to not do at all. Cool. So I can't recommend that enough sometimes.
Good advice. Don't do anything.
Don't do, like, I like the Forgetting Sarah Marshall bit where he's like, no, I was trying to teach him how to surf, and he's like, no, man, you're doing too much. Just don't do anything. Well, now you're just laying there. Don't just lay there.
I think it's a good game though. I think
it is. It's fun.
So like Derek just now had three options: do nothing, or two options: do nothing, or tease us with the shoulder there, and so he chose tease.
The Derek tease.
That
Derek
tease,
right? Instead of Teague. Yeah.
The Teague tease. Wow.
So there's a bunch of other games I know we're playing. We'll try to do quick hits on this. So maybe if you've got a game you're playing to talk about, we'll try to do, a minute or two at most. I'll talk quickly about Griftlands from the guys from Clay, the team that made Mark of the Ninja, and they also had another game that was revealed this week. But this is a deck building RPG basically, and I like it because there's the battling side, which is if you've played a deck building game, you get it, you understand the strength, and you have to build up some kind of energy of some kind in order to play certain moves. But then there's also negotiating. So you have two different decks, your battle deck and your negotiating deck. It operates roughly the same way, but the rules for your exchanges are a little different. In a battle, it's very much straightforward, a deck RPG battle. For negotiating, you're still using cards, but it could be to destroy their argument or to undermine them or to identify a lie in their logic or whatever. So like you're actually having a conversation, but it's a conversation battle, and you're using cards to like try to outwit them as opposed to battle with them. So I think that was a creative approach to this deck building thing. It still is like a battle. If like, just at its core, you're still doing a card battle. It's just with the kind of the skin of a conversation as opposed to an actual fight. So I thought that was kind of creative. Really cool art style. Clay makes really cool looking games.
Yeah,
you can
they did Don't Starve as well.
And you can turn off.
Okay. So does it look like that?
It looks more like Mark of the Ninja characters and art style than that. Anyway, you can turn off the roguelike elements. At the beginning, there's a lot of options to make it much less punishing.
Okay,
if you don't like that.
This looks familiar.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember it being announced because it was on my radar, and then I discovered it was like a deck thing, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
well,
if you don't like card games, then
not
it's
into
not
that.
you. But yeah, if you do like card-based games, then definitely
have to be in the mood.
Definitely worth taking a look.
It has to be as different as like Inscription. Like it has to be super different.
It's definitely not that.
Inscription.
It's not that.
Yeah.
But I also know we also need to talk about another big release from this past week. That's Mario Strikers. But Derek, you're the only one of us that's played it. So give us your thoughts on the new Mario Soccer.
So, as I said in the chat, it's basically Mario Kart on a soccer field. So, even like play modes and stuff, I know you guys were like bummed there wasn't a story mode. I don't really care that there's not a story mode. I do wish there was a little more content. I don't have like Nintendo's online service, so I can only do single player stuff or, local co-op. And all there really is there's like exhibition mode, and then, or I guess it's quick match mode, and then there's cups, so like Mario Kart cups.
Yeah,
and all it is like mini tournaments that you earn trophies for, and I've already beat 3 of the 6, maybe 4 of the 6. But anyway, so they are on normal. I mean, there's different difficulty settings. I'm playing on normal. When I first started playing, I said this game's fun but frustrating. First of all, I skipped tutorials, so I just went in and just started playing soccer. So I didn't know how to do any of the specials. I didn't even know how to shoot if I had a turtle shell to shoot, I didn't know how to shoot it. I didn't know how to do anything. So that was part of my frustration. But now that I've played probably 2 hours or so, maybe a little more, it's pretty easy to learn. It's very arcadey. It's got a lot of good systems into it. Only complaint I have is the Mario Kart aspect of there's some cheese to it. Like I'll be blowing out a team and then all of a sudden they could just do no wrong, or they'll literally shoot the ball right by my goalie and he'll go like this.
Like the Mario Party thing where they start giving out stars to everybody at the end.
Right.
Like, all right, what was the point?
Pity stars,
Yeah.
stars, you know.
And there's some AI issues as well. Like, so you control one of four characters. The goalie is controlled completely by the computer, and then you control one of four characters, which you can switch at any time, just like FIFA or whatever. You just switch to them. But if you're not controlling them and the ball comes right by them, they'll just, a lot of times, I'll be like, dude, you're really just going to stand there? You're going to let the AI on the other team go get the ball? You're just going to stand there? You want me to run across the field?
Right.
Or you want me to switch to you to then run to the field or run to the ball? That stuff will get annoying, especially if you're playing on, I think, higher setting difficulties or just more difficult teams. Because you have to remember, this game has gear, and the gear gives you pluses and minuses. So there's no gear so far that I've at least unlocked that's just pluses. So let's say I want Peach to be, and so all characters have their stats already. So like Peach is fast, right? But she's not tough, and she's
This game
not,
is so sexist.
yeah,
Yeah,
she's not a
absolutely.
really good
She's so brittle.
striker.
So brittle.
She's, I think, a decent passer, but she's not a good striker.
Okay.
So if you want to make her fat or make her a better
Make
striker,
her fat.
you can add gear that gives her a +2 for shooting, but it might be a minus in her speed.
Right.
Which you might be able to go, okay,
Okay.
she's really fast. She can take a hit there. I want her to be a better shooter. So that's how it is with every characters. There's 4 gear slots, and each gear that you pick has pluses and minuses. So pretty much with the team I'm running, I'm doing Mario, Luigi, Peach, and is it Rosie?
Rosie.
I don't know, the other chick, because I don't want to be sexist.
Oh,
The
Rosalina.
brunette.
Rosalina.
Well, the brunette or
No, the Rosalina from Galaxy.
okay,
Rosalina.
the other blonde.
She's like white haired or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm running them, and Rosalina and Mario are my like scorers. They're high shooting. They're pretty much good in all areas, and then real high in shooting. And then Peach and Luigi are my passers, who are quicker. Peach is the fastest. Luigi's not as fast. So I don't really have anybody who's tough. So I don't really knock. I hit to knock people over, but I can't really knock them over. But that's not completely bad in this game, because people like Bowser, who can knock you over like that, that's good. But the game has, and I think this is actually a good thing, it has a system in place where you can't just go around knocking the entire team down, because when you knock somebody over, they're dizzy for a little bit. You don't just knock them down and they get up. They're dizzy. They're out of the play for a little bit. So when you knock somebody down who does not have the ball, the game rewards the other team and punishes you for doing that by giving them a question mark box that has a item in it that you can't unlock. So even if I get over there and get to it before they do, I just bounce off the box, or I can't do anything with it. If they get it, they unlock an item. So it could be a star or a turtle or whatever. So they don't want you cheesing by knocking everybody down and then just grabbing the ball and scoring real quick. So that's pretty good. They've got some systems in place to keep it in line, to keep it fair. But like I said, the only thing there's 2 things I don't like. I don't feel like there's enough content here, because there's only, I think it's 10 characters. I think that's kind of weak. There's only 10 characters. I also don't like that. I feel like there should be more than just the cups. So even though I wouldn't care about the story, maybe if they just had different things,
like seasons
going,
or something.
yeah,
Seasons.
something. Like I would love
Or
to
a
do a
league,
season.
yeah.
I think the only thing you can do like leagues and season wise is online. So you have to have Nintendo Online to do that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty weak single player experience. Not that it's a bad game. It's just kind of a weaker single player experience.
But I cannot overstate how fun this game is.
Cool.
It is
That's great.
actually really fun. Is it worth 60? I mean, I ended up paying 50 for it. I'm okay with it because I really like Mario Strikers, and I'm a big soccer fan, and I love arcade soccer games. I don't remember the name of the soccer game I used to play, but there was an arcade soccer, I think, on the the original Xbox that I was obsessed with. And
Hmm.
it was a lot like this where you can beat each other up and it was very over the top special
Not FIFA,
moves.
not FIFA Street, was it? 'Cause
No,
I
it
know
was
there a
before
Street.
FIFA Street. It was actual arcade, no real players or anything. They were over the
My
top.
favorite soccer game was on the N64. It was that Konami one, the 11, something 11, maybe.
Winning 11.
Maybe.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah,
But there was an
Winning 11.
N64 one that I really liked. It wasn't the FIFA. It wasn't like the mainline one. It
Right.
was,
Well, there was Winning
I think it was
11, I think,
Konami.
for a while versus FIFA. There was those two series going.
I just remember really liking the way, like that felt to play on the N64. I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's bad to play now, but back then I thought it was great.
Right. Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Same with the wrestling games, right?
Oh yeah. Well, those are still fun. You shut your mouth.
Yeah. Uneducated piece
What?
of trash.
What?
So listen, over the weekend, Dan and I both finished around the same time. It seems like Eiyuden
Yeah.
Chronicles Rising, or Eiyuden Chronicle Rising.
Chronicle.
Not
It's a
just,
singular
One
chronicle.
A singular
Singular.
chronicle.
Don't get carried
yes.
away.
Dan, what do you think? What do you think about it? It's about a 12 to 15 hour game.
Um,
How much extra you do? What do you think?
I think it is so it was $15, right? $15,
Or,
I believe.
or on Game Pass for free, but yeah.
Yeah, or on Game Pass for free. I think it is a good introduction to the world of the actual main RPG that will be coming out. Was it 100 Heroes?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean the game. I would say the game is a swimming in sevens game, but I actually really like the three main characters quite a bit, especially by the end of like the whole story and the progression of their relationships and specifically with Guru and is it Aisha?
Yep.
They're
Sure,
sort of
however you say it.
yeah, however you say it.
Yep.
Sort of the stakes going on with what they have, like, and Guru, you find out like pretty much right at the very end what his stakes are.
Yep.
And Aisha,
I thought that was cool, by the way.
yeah, very cool. And with Aisha, you kind of learn it a little bit sooner than that. CJ is just kind of like this like bouncy, bubbly, like I want to go on an adventure. So like she's the least interesting. She's not like a terrible character. But I just overall them together was really fun. Just watching their relationships kind of flourish, and then by the end of it, they're just like really like, yeah, we're a team, and we're gonna kind of do this thing.
Yeah.
But
The
all the
reveals about Isha and Guru were very kind of heavy for a lighthearted game.
Yes.
And then the reveal about CJ was just what the initial stand for, which was like, all right, that was the big reveal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, funny, but
funny, yeah.
especially with the dad's name.
Right.
But yeah, the mechanics kind of just like once you've kind of unlocked the mechanics and I feel like you unlocked them pretty early on. It's just kind of like rinse and repeat a little bit, and it doesn't feel too like it's not continuously super fun. It's just kind of like, oh, I get this, but then like I was far enough where I was like, I'm just gonna beat it. But yeah, I didn't hate it by any means. It was $15, not a bad. And again, I think it's a good introduction to that world.
Yeah.
So.
I totally agree with you. I think it's going to be probably one of my favorite swimming in the 7 games of the year. You know, when we look at games that are rated in the 70s, basically, that aren't like game of the year contenders, not strong ones at least. But I had a good time with it, and just like you said, I think they did a good job introducing what feels like a small corner of a huge world that's going to be in 100 Heroes, because towards the end, they start talking about a lot of things outside of the world, and you kind of learn about the history of what happened. And of course, there's an evil empire involved of some kind. So you start to hear some names, and at the very, very end, kind of like a post-credits thing, you just see a conversation with no visuals of who they are between, I'm assuming
people,
big bad in the main game, or one of the big bads or something. So, so I thought that was pretty cool. And so it does feel like, hey, we've got a nice little foot in the door to what this bigger world's going to be like. And maybe some of these characters, I would hope, if not many of them, at least a few of them will be able to join your party in the main game.
Yeah. Or just like there
to talk to or something.
Yeah, in 100 Heroes, like if you visit the town of Old Nevea, or however you pronounce it, like if you pass through it, you're like, oh, and then you actually interact with Guru, CJ, and Aisha.
Yeah, I would love it if you could actually recruit them, because they're all of course fighters, and so why not? But I thought it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I do recommend it. Yeah, I agree with your assessment there with swimming in sevens. So many demos out right now, and
tons
a lot
of
of them. A lot of them are going to be worth trying, because you can save money if you discover that it's not going to be something that you love, or it's going to be one of those things that, dude, like I tried the demo and I know I'm in love with this game. And so I've got a couple examples of those. I'm sure you guys have too, if you've played any of these. I'll throw out there first a game that caught my eye because I thought it looked like it would be a blast, and that was the Unliving, which is where you're a necromancer, and it kind of has a top-down pixel graphics, like 32x pixel graphics. Where you are a necromancer, running around, you raising the dead to fight for you and stuff. But this game just is not well balanced yet, and it was not performing well. So it was chugging like crazy. I even turned down the settings, which was silly because it's a pixel graphics type of a game.
Right.
And it just wasn't running smoothly. It wasn't anything to do with settings or like it's not like my computer was heating up or anything. It was just running poorly. It's a demo. The game's not ready yet. I get it, but it was just not optimized and just wasn't that fun to play. So that was an example of where you try a demo. That game's kind of off my list of something I'm anticipating. Who knows? Maybe it'll come out and everyone will love it.
There's a game that I got a demo of called Monorail Stories, which demoed at, I want to say Tribeca, or not demoed, did a showcase or whatever. So I can't even remember where it showed. But anyway, the point is that like you play out these, I guess as advertised, these stories of these passengers on a monorail, and you're switching perspectives throughout the day on the monorail to different people. But the demo is like a joke. It's like 10 seconds long. Like somebody like left their scarf there, and then you switch to somebody else who finds a scarf and you put it in Lost and Found.
That's it.
And then you go back to the woman who lost her scarf, and you go to the Lost and Found to get your scarf, and she's like,
it's like buy our full game.
Oh, that's great. And then it goes, play this again with different choices. And I'm like, no, how about no?
What choice?
So
How many choices?
I really think there is a full game experience to be had, but that's just one of the worst demos that they could have put out for it, in my opinion.
I would love it if that game is actually 2 minutes long total.
Right.
Yeah.
All they could do.
And you just have to keep playing the same, like,
make different choices.
It's like source code, but a super boring version of it. Yeah.
Yes. She lost her scarf. She needs it back. Put me back in.
The world's ending. She needs her scarf.
That's amazing.
Oh, man.
Another one that I tried out real briefly was Roots of Pacha, because my kids and I really enjoy Stardew Valley and games like that. And that has those vibes. It's like kind of back in the
Does it now?
Stone Ages, like caveman type thing.
That one, yes.
And so it's fine. Again, it's not very fine-tuned. It makes you appreciate a game like Stardew that just gets it right. It feels right as you're playing it, when you're clearing the land, when you're planting, when you're doing all the stuff. You kind of take for granted the fact that it works so well and it does what you expect when you hit a button.
That is what's so annoying about these type of games. Some of them just really just overcomplicate things, or they really don't provide you like the kind of most basic, like, why can I do X thing? Like, seems really basic to do.
Now,
you know?
I played this game for like 10 minutes, so I'm not giving it a full judgment, but I was like, this just doesn't feel that great. I understand what this is. Maybe at some point one of my kids will want to buy it on Switch or something. I think it's coming to Switch later. But anyway, just wanted to throw that one out there. That was a game that I actually saw on 2 different presentations. Roots of Pacha got a lot of attention across a couple of these things.
So the rest of the demos you have listed, we both have played.
All right, let's talk about Midnight Fight Express. So this one we've confirmed is made by one guy, and which is super impressive, regardless of what he outsourced, if anything. That's amazing that he kind of came up with this game and is building it. And I can confirm this demo just tells me this game is an absolute blast and has fantastic systems. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Like, the demo's job is to sell you on the full thing, and this one did that in spades. Like, I'll buy it at like 30, 40. It's not going to be full price, I don't think.
No, $20, $30.
Yeah, exactly. And that is perfect, because you're doing, yes, you can go back and do the levels again to get a better score, whatever, but that's the whole goal, is like, it's a melee. And I guess you can pick up guns too, and the guns have finite ammo. So like after 12 rounds, you throw the gun and you just go back to meleeing. But yeah, you can also pick up stuff. It's like Sifu that way, where you can kind of just pick up stuff and interact with stuff. You can throw trash cans at people and like do stuff like that, where it's like very martial arts oriented.
And then you get a gun and it feels surprisingly good too. I was like,
I was like, oh, the gun doesn't feel terrible. That's very surprising. I was actually hitting targets with it. That was impressive.
Same. Dude, when you first get the gun, and I know it's the training room, so they make it so you look awesome and don't fail. But still, I was like, boom, 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 boom. And they're all dead. I was like, dude, that felt amazing. I love this
so
game.
Good.
Like
so you kind of, each level's like it's very arcadey in a sense that each level's like its own run or whatever. It's really short. You're trying to get through it pretty fast, get a really high score, not die, because that impacts your score. And that way you can spend whatever you earn from that level on like upgrades for skills or gear. Like, you can make yourself look freaking stupid. I had rubber ducky shoes on by the 3rd level.
The unlocks are hilarious.
So it's definitely aware of how ridiculous some of it is too, and the soundtrack's great, very Hotline Miami, techno oriented type of soundtrack.
I
is
actually started to compare it to that, but then I was like, no, because Hotline Miami isn't like another one we'll talk about, but it is that's like the one hit kill, both really for yourself.
Yeah,
and
it's
for the
not like
enemies.
that. This
is
one
not that.
does have a health bar, and
For
I
enemies.
think at least so far I've noticed the more you hit and the more rage you accumulate, I think the health bar restores at a certain point from something.
And there's a whole counter system in place,
Yeah.
and you can unlock abilities to do different types of counters with different weapons you're holding, and like it's pretty cool. It's surprisingly well built out.
It's very involved for being just one person.
Right.
Yeah.
Seems
This
like
isn't
it.
like Undertale one person where it's like, of course one person made this. It comes off that way.
I mean,
It's much more involved.
yeah, it's clearly why whenever Keeley first saw it, he was like so impressed. He's like, wait, this is one dude. So like that's why he showed it last year, and now here it is about to come out. So you know,
and it's
Yeah, I
pretty
think
funny
it's
too.
coming
It's
out,
the
yeah,
writing
there's
has
some
some
humor in it.
self-awareness to like how ridiculous. It's kind of like this weird purge-like setting that you're in, and you go kill everything. And so
That comes out. Full game is August 23rd, same day as Saints Row.
Okay.
so yeah, I mean, pretty soon.
Yeah, and it
So I like
feels
that
like
one.
it too. It feels almost complete when you play the demo. You're like,
One that
oh,
I
this
think
feels
is
finished.
more like Hotline Miami, just in terms of run from room to room. Everyone's an instant kill, but they're also very deadly, and that's Angerfoot.
Oh.
Dude,
Yeah.
this game when
So there's a
Game is
demo for that.
So
Okay.
dumb.
there's a
Yeah,
demo
there is.
for it.
Yeah.
It is.
Is that how it looks? Is that how the game
Yeah.
looks?
Yeah.
The camera all like going spazzy, like
It's
Jesus.
kind of wild how they pulled
Yeah,
it off.
it's first person, and you literally pull the left trigger to kick. But then, of course, you can pick up items, throw them. You can get a gun even to shoot, which is really hard to aim because of the speed of the game. But
yeah.
whatever, it's fine, and it's super fun. You're killing these weird thugs that are all giant lizards for some reason, and it's very arcadey, like Jeff said with the other game with Midnight Fight Express too. But this one's even more arcadey because it's like you're finishing levels in a minute or whatever.
Yeah.
And the idea is they even give you little bonuses for foot only, where you don't use any weapons or anything. So it's it's a creative idea. Someone was smoking something when they made this, but
Yeah.
Absolutely.
but I'm here for it.
If they charge full price for it, you're high AF. But it is.
Well, they were.
I would say it's definitely worth like 20 or whatever. I don't know when it's going to come out. 2023 probably, but yeah, I mean it's fun. It's fun.
funny.
It's just and it's funny too. I think that's what helps drive repeated playthroughs of certain levels, because if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't bother. But it does have a
Dude, I actually laughed
humor
out loud.
and the zaniness of it helps.
There's a part you're going down this hallway, and as you're kicking indoors, you're realizing each of these is a bathroom. It's almost like bathroom stalls, and you get to one of them, and you kick the door in, and you kill one of the lizards who was sitting on the toilet.
Yeah.
Not only was he sitting on the toilet, and now he's dead because you kicked the door at him, but it's pixelating out his whole crotch area. I started dying laughing at that.
That's a bummer.
Of course, it's a Devolver game. Of course.
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
That's just a bad way to go, right? That's a bad.
It was just a funny little touch because, like, clearly there's nothing to hide. Like, clearly they didn't actually program in nudity, or he's got whatever, like bright green pants or something, whatever he's got on.
Yeah.
But like it's just like big pixelated blocks over it, like just to block it.
So
it's
ridiculous.
Really funny. Really.
These
silly.
guys were clearly inspired by Duke Nukem for this one.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that
because they had the pixelated stuff sometimes on that.
The last demo that I wanted to highlight, unless you guys had other demos, other games you want to talk about, is Fire Emblem's Warrior 3 Hopes has a demo out. Not only can you play through a number of chapters with each story choice, I guess I could say, that you can pick between one of the main three characters, just like in Fire Emblem 3 Houses, the full RPG game, and now you can pick between, very similarly, those three houses. And whatever progress you make, or I think progress you make in all three of them, I assume, can carry over if you buy the full game then on that same system.
That's cool.
So I played this for a little bit. It's exactly what I expected, and I don't mean that in a good or bad way. It's more just kind of like, if you like these kind of games where every swing and special move is knocking hundreds of soldiers up into the air, and it's there's no real weight to the feel of your character. You feel like you're skating around almost because everything's very lightweight and fast.
Mm-hmm.
Your hits don't really feel like they connect because you're hitting everything in front of you. So like you can see that they're connecting, but there's not really a strong feel to and that's what these Warrior games have always done for me. And I always kind of lose interest because the combat to me never feels visceral or satisfying. That's a very personal preference. I just want to make that real clear. I understand that is not a true. That's why I'm saying it's not good or bad. It's just my personal preference. I don't find the combat in these games to really hook me. I
Yeah.
totally see why it's enjoyable. I think the style, and by the way, the story and characters, really interesting right out of the gate. You actually, one of the first main enemies you fight against is essentially the character you created in Three Houses. If you have a save file, and if you don't, you get to
Oh.
create them.
Really?
And that's someone that you face off against really early on in the demo, regardless of what
Oh,
patch.
that's actually pretty cool.
So I thought that was great. And so there's
Yeah.
lots of tiebacks to those characters if you've played that first game.
You and I feel the same about the combat in this game because I tried this as well, and I just came away going, maybe I'm just not in the mood right now, but I'm just not this type of style, this combat style. It just isn't for me right now. I don't know. The Quarry, something slow paced. I can do that. I can talk all day. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair,
But I
just
know
talked
exactly
about
what you're saying.
Eiyuden Chronicle Rising is very similar. That combat doesn't have a visceral, heavy feel to it either. It's very
Right.
lightweight. You're just hitting buttons and kind of like there's only sometimes towards the end are enemies actually difficult, and even then they're not that difficult. And so like
Right.
Yeah.
this game has that same vibe, and I'm sure the difficulty ramps up. They're just teaching you the game at the beginning. I totally get it, and there's a
Yeah.
lot to learn. Like this game has a lot of complexity to it. They were introducing me to all kinds of moves and combos and things
Yeah.
I could unlock, and there's all these
Some-
characters you're going to
Some
be able to
magic stuff
control.
too. Yeah.
And it still has the rock paper scissors thing where certain weapons are stronger against enemies depending on what weapon they're wielding, like axes beat spears and so on. So they still have that element. I'm not saying it's not complex or well built out. It's just the basic feel of combat isn't. And I know
Yeah.
Derek, you and I've talked about these Warriors games before. They've just never been my thing, and that's okay. I think it's cool.
You put it into words. You took the words like almost right on my brain, and I haven't even formed them yet about how the combat was like. I don't know, just something about it's light and it doesn't feel.
Oh.
Especially when you're slashing hundreds of dudes and they go up in the air. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
all right, I don't know, man. I know that's what these games literally are, but I just not for me, I guess. I don't know.
For me, they're like cool to play for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
No, none of them have ever hooked me where I've finished them.
Okay.
And I think I buy them a lot of times. I know Kyle plays all of them. I only buy like the Nintendo ones. Like I thought the last Zelda one, the Breath of the Wild one,
Yeah.
Hyrule.
My son loved that game.
I thought that was really good because it actually took stuff you did in Breath of the Wild and added it in the game.
Like
their
actual
special
lore.
moves and stuff like that. So I'm interested. I'm downloading the demo now because I did pre-order this. I bought like $150 worth of Nintendo currency for like $100. Like I got a big discount, so that's why I decided to buy Mario Strikers, Fire Emblem Warriors, and then a Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I have those 3 pre-ordered. Then I bought Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic too. So I've been actually using my Switch a lot.
Nice.
That's actually been the main thing, and
you're the main reason Nintendo sees no need to come up with new hardware. They're like, look at all the software these guys are buying.
Yeah.
This naked guy over here buying all this.
It's this guy. It's Toga Man over here.
I've actually been playing Knights of the Old Republic. That's been my main game. Like I said, the Quarry interrupted me for a day, and I'll keep playing through the Quarry to get my own playthrough. But Knights of the Old Republic is what I want to. I want to finish. I have both on the Switch.
Yeah.
I'm just playing through the first one now. Yeah. And then I'm going to go to the second one. So I've beaten the first one like 4 or 5 times, but it feels like, I'll say this, for me, it feels like a new game. That's why I like going back to old games, because I'm not always good at them when I play them, especially if it's like a new genre for me. And Coder was my first like RPG, like Western RPG. So I know like playing it now, I'm way better at this game than I was when I originally played it, because I was like,
that's cool. Yeah.
I sucked. I remember I had to just like throw grenades all the time. So I'm like, this guy just keeps beating me because I don't know how to. I didn't know
even
how
with
to
the lightsaber.
Yeah, I didn't know how to level up.
I think I lost your audio.
That was weird. Plugged in.
Yeah, is he plugged in? Yeah, he's plugged in.
It's plugged into the Matrix.
How
does that even happen?
I thought for a second maybe my sound just went out, but you guys stopped hearing him too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's saying something about he likes wieners. Right. Is that what it is? No.
Yeah, Dan, do some lip reading.
Nod for...
Do some lip reading for
So I went on a date with Sasan,
us.
and that's why I don't have a shirt
Oh,
on.
I think I hear you now.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. That was weird.
Yeah, I think that,
Why are you guys going through? Why are you not going through my headphones though?
No?
just click the little arrow by the microphone and you can change which is which, your microphone or your speakers.
Leave it to Derek to show up, and he's the one having the technical difficulties.
All right, can you still hear me? Because
Yeah.
now you're going through my headphones. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't know why. I was plugged into my Xbox controller, which is still on. and
But
now
I am
it's-
curious with Knights of the Old Republic because I've never actually played these games start to finish. I'm very familiar with them, of course. Things have been spoiled over the years, whatever. But I've always been like, should I just buckle down and play these? Like,
Well, they're remaking the first one,
It's-
right?
they are. That's why I kind of like wrote it off. Like, nah, I'll just wait for the remake. Is it worth if I've never played it, or is it worth going back to, or is it like, hey, it's not going to hold up without your nostalgia attached to it? Does
Well,
that
see,
question make sense?
Well, yeah, it makes sense. I think it's a difficult one to answer because this is one of my favorite games, and that was what I was trying to explain. Is like it was my first Western RPG, so it's special to me. But I couldn't go back to it. Like I kept starting it on PC, I started on Xbox, and I just couldn't. I was just like, I've already beat this like 4 or 5 times, and the combat sucks. Blah blah blah. But now I'm playing it, and I'm going. I even said I was like, just what it's gonna be like. Just experience it again and see if it is as good as you remember. I can say, of course, you've got cheesy dialogue and all that stuff. This blanket is annoying the crap out of me. Get on, bro. Quit
Well,
trying to
you
come
wouldn't
off.
have to worry about that if you put on a shirt,
You
bro.
just put on a friggin' shirt.
This is my work attire.
Okay. Is that what you when you have your raise or whatever it is, meeting for a raise?
Oh, I'll give you a raise.
Your
all right.
performance
Oh
your
boy,
performance review is what I was trying to
Derek
So-
Chronicle Rising, huh?
Yeah. So what I would say is, yes, it's worth playing. Not just
Okay.
because I'm a fanboy of the games, but because like I'm playing through and I'm going, man, these games are smart. Like I like the characters. Yes, they're over the top. Yes, there's some cheesy dialogue and all stuff, but the variation in characters and stuff like that, it's kind of like in a way, I know BioWare made classics before this, but this was like I believe like their biggest. Like it was the most
think it was.
mainstream because it was Star Wars. And so to watch them create these games, the narrative is cool. It's typical Star Wars, like go find a map and there's pieces of it on each planet. That type of thing. But the characters are what's cool. And then for me, I remember playing this when I remember when I played it. It was when I first got married. So I was early 20s, and I remember when I got to the twist, and I was like, I've never seen this or experienced this in a game before. This is amazing. So even though I know the twist that's coming, it's still, again, it's kind of like the Quarry. It's cool to watch or play through it and then pay attention to how they talk to you and who they
that's
think
cool.
you are and all that stuff. So I think it's worth it. I'm absolutely having a blast. I play it all the time while I'm working. I have my Switch hooked up to my monitor, and my Switch, like I said, has been my main, and I'm gonna finish Coder, and then my plan is to go into Knights of the Old Republic 2 because that is also a classic. It doesn't get as much love because it was rushed. Obsidian was only given a year to make it, but they did an amazing job with the systems that were already built of creating a story. But again, what they did and what the original Coder did is they created amazing characters. All the characters are great, and they all have their own stories. Like I just finished a planet where there was, based off of who you take on the planet, you get completely different dialogue. And it becomes more personal to certain characters
Yeah.
because it's their stories on that. So you start to see, oh, that's why Mass Effect's so good.
I was gonna say that's how BioWare continued to build on that. Yeah.
Yes, I was like, Mass Effect, this
Yeah.
is why they do it. They just were repeating it, but they were doing it better, like as far as graphics
So
and
really,
gameplay
like,
got better.
being able to get their hands on this on Star Wars property, like, kind of birthed the idea of Mass Effect. It had to
That
be,
sounds
right?
like
Oh, absolutely. Mass Effect takes so many things
Yeah.
from Coder, like your ship, your characters, your
Yeah.
crew, the
But it's just
missions you're
interesting-
going on.
yeah.
It's interesting
everything
if they
is
never
Mass
made
Effect.
these games, if Mass Effect would have
Makes you
existed.
wonder.
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't think so.
That's
but I
cool.
think combat even's fun. As long as you know that there's a imaginary dice that you don't see rolling and you're not getting mad because you're like, my character's 3 inches away and he's a Jedi. Why is he not hitting it? Because it's got magic dice behind the scenes
Magic dice.
that are rolling, and if you get zeros, you're not hitting anything. So, but it's a good game. It's worth it for the story. Could you wait for the remake? Yeah, because you're gonna probably get the exact same story. I don't think they're gonna change too much.
And it's gonna look and play amazing.
But if you still use your Switch a lot,
I do. Yeah.
then I think it's worth investing.
Well, it's not very
in getting
expensive,
both.
right? They're pretty cheap and they're on
You
sale a
can
lot.
get both of them bundled for maybe it's 25 for both. I bought Coder for 12 and I bought Coder 2 for 15. So
Okay.
$27 for two
Yeah,
games that
I'm gonna
give
have
you
to-
60 plus hours. It's
have to
worth
do
it
that.
to me.
All right, we got to jump into some headlines before we kind of give our high-level thoughts on what the presentations have been recently, and then we'll close things out. But there's been rumors back and forth. God of War coming out in
Yeah.
2023, and now the latest rumor is that no, it's coming out in November, and this is according to Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, our favorite reporter.
Oh, yeah.
So
Love
he
that.
cites
That's that.
he cites 3 people familiar with the game's development, he says, and claims that they're expecting the game to be due for a November release. According to those sources, Sony's expected to announce the game's release later this month, so sometime in June. As soon as Derek hears about Schreier, his clothes come off, as you can see.
Pants
That's
come off, shirt comes.
So,
Everything.
there's not a whole lot we can say about this till it's official, but I just thought it's worth mentioning, and it is kind of a back and forth. Like, is it this
Do
year?
you
Is it next-
guys think it's coming out in November, but they didn't talk about it at their State of Play, which was their
I think
big
it's
State of
uncertain.
Have
Play?
a separate.
I think it's uncertain. I think they're waiting till they're certain, till they lock it in,
Yeah.
and then they'll tell us. And I think it's still a little up in the air behind closed doors over there. I really do.
They'll
I think
they'll have
So I
their
think
own
their
separate state of
goal-
play, right?
I
I think they
it was-
want November, but
I think their goal is November, and I think
Yeah.
you're right. I think it's if we can't make it, we didn't say we were gonna make
just
it.
like Horizon.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think with this year especially, and I know we're going to talk about it after Xbox's showcase, I mean, you've already released Horizon. I think if you end it with God of War, and
Yeah.
Xbox has stuff but doesn't have,
God of War.
they don't have a Forza, a Gears, a Fable. They don't have
have a strong
Halo.
exclusive. They've got some great
There's
Game Pass titles,
nothing, yeah, there's nothing huge coming out. This is another huge win for PlayStation.
Well,
if they
last year
drop it.
Microsoft kind of owned the holiday in terms of new exclusives,
Really?
right?
Because in our
Yeah.
group, Xbox still has no games.
You're right. You're right.
they just don't have any
That's-
games.
that's
It's just
my-
a
you know
trash
what?
can. And have
You know
fun
what?
with your trash can.
That's my bad. I was too positive there. I was
We
too much.
totally forgot about Halo Infinite and Forza, which were all up for Game of the Year, but they don't have any.
Yeah,
games.
Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5 it's just a stellar way to end the year for Xbox. And Sony didn't really have any exclusives to wrap up the year. They had third-party games that were great. And now this year it looks to be possibly reversed. And even if God of War doesn't arrive, Sony can at least say, hey, we've got Forspoken, and they've got something this holiday. And right now we don't know of much on Xbox, but I was just chatting with Jesse White about this, and I agree with him completely that even when they don't have exclusives, which is a bummer, we're kind of like, where's the next Gears? Where's the next big holiday game from Xbox? They still have everything on Game Pass that I would normally pay for somewhere, and so I still play a lot on their platform. For me,
There's
Yeah,
always something
same.
to play. There's
Yeah.
literally always something to play. Like,
Yeah.
just always.
So anyway, we'll see. I do think it's gonna come out in November, or I think also equally possible is like a February release, just like Horizon, where they have to push it a few months for polish.
Yeah.
February, March, maybe.
They have been saying 2022 though. They're like, guys, we promise.
I know.
So,
I think they
so-
want it. I
you
think they
know,
want it real bad. Same with
people will
Horizon.
Yeah, it
bitch,
feels like
but-
that's the developer's goal, especially if all the
Yeah.
sources involved with the development are saying
Yep.
it's
Right.
2022. It feels like that's more of a developer goal that they've been saying internally all
I
year.
think they're crunching
they are
without
dead set.
crunching.
crunching without crunching,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yes.
'Cause,
Capcom's
yeah, they don't
gonna
crunch, guys. Nobody
Capcom's
crunch.
going to have its own showcase on June 13th, which is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific.
Fully, I was telling Dan, that's basically just going to be Street Fighter 6 and Resident Evil 4 remake.
That's
and
fine
it.
with me because I want to see some
Probably.
of that Resident Evil 4. I want to see what it looks like in motion and
They could
I
show
would like
some,
to see that too. Yeah.
They could show some Resident Evil Village DLC if they have a new announcement.
Oh yeah,
there,
that's right.
Or maybe
they got
some VR elements, but that they
some of
might
that
save
coming.
that for Sony.
Yeah.
fingers crossed for Dragon Dogma 2, guys.
That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. Now, the wording of and we talked about this before, but the wording of that announcement, the word "and," I looked at it again as we talked about it, and I was like, okay, they could still announce something new because the way this is worded sounds like it could be announcements and updates on titles you've heard before, or it could be announcements and updates on titles we've talked about before. So like it's hard to say.
They know what they're doing.
They know exactly what they're doing. So we'll see. I think I skipped Annapurna. Sorry. Annapurna Interactive is holding its next game showcase on July 28th.
July 28th.
If you've been paying attention, I mean, they've been pumping out crazy.
Yeah, last time they did one, 12 minutes was in there, and there was some other stuff that I was interested in that you guys were like lukewarm on, and then we all ended up playing it and liking a game, and it was like, freaking told you guys.
Of course, they're the ones. I think their biggest upcoming game is Stray. I'm pretty sure they're publishing Stray.
Oh, is that them? Cool.
That'll be fun.
So anyway, yeah, that's at the end of July. Final Fantasy VII's 25th anniversary stream has been confirmed for this week. I think the Thursday is the 16th.
16th,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
So please be excited. Please be excited for 10 minutes of ecstasy. All right. 10 minutes of ecstasy, guys.
10 minutes. So weird. I have a bad feeling, Dan, for your sake, that this is going to be an announcement of the event where they'll unveil part 2. I could be wrong.
That'd be really funny.
I was telling Jeff, I think this is what's going to happen. It is literally only going to be 10 minutes, this event. I think it's going to be mostly Ever Crisis. I don't know if you guys remember what Ever Crisis is. Yeah. It's sort of like a retelling of like literally the entire compilation of 7. In mobile game, there's the mobile versions. Maybe they'll kind of push it outside of mobile. We'll see. But it's an actual video game with like turn-based combat and etc. And then there'll probably be a quick reminder that Battle Royale first soldier game exists because that needed to exist, right? That absolutely had to exist.
Yeah, I'm playing. I'm thinking about it right now all the time.
And then the last 30 to 60 seconds will be 7 Remake Part 2 tease. That's my prediction is what's going to happen.
And they might even put a date on a full reveal event. I honestly think that they'll I agree with you. I think it'll be updates on other Final Fantasy spin-off projects, a tease for part 2. It might show Cloud or something, or it might just have the title screen. And I think it'll be the event's going to be in, I don't know, November or something when they'll have a standalone event or something. But anyway, I could be wrong. Maybe they'll totally reveal the game and it's coming out this holiday. Who knows?
Yeah, no, definitely not. If 16 is coming out summer 2023, this is still is after. This is after.
Yeah, I'm gonna have grandkids by the time part 2 comes out.
Yep.
The Grammys are adding a new video game soundtrack category starting next year. So essentially, if I'm understanding this correctly, then video game soundtracks that are coming out in this year will be eligible for next year's awards.
Yeah, they run like a year behind, so it's going to be like Halo Infinite and probably be in there or something.
Dude, I'm so glad because there are so many video game soundtracks and composers that just do not get the credit they deserve for writing.
They get zero credit because Grammys are about the music industry, right? And they just totally exclude them. It's ridiculous.
Oh, and
they have like 6 spoken word categories, but no video game soundtrack. It's ridiculous.
Oh my God. But yeah, so that'll start next year. I am excited about that. That might actually get me to check in on Grammy winners.
Good.
So I'm excited for that.
Actually get you. How dare you? How dare you? Okay. Music is life. All right.
It's just a language. It's a different language.
Not that you mean music in general, because there's like tons of categories in there. You know that there's like tons of genres. I'm just throwing it out there. You know that, right?
Who are you talking to right now?
That's not true.
Who are you scolding?
It's R&B only. Joker sequel has been
only R&B and rap, guys.
Joker sequel has been officially confirmed, and Todd Phillips is returning to write. We know the script is finished. He was putting out on Instagram something. I think he even put out a picture of Joaquin reading the script, although he's not been officially attached. But that'd be weird, right? If he's not. But the title, and I cannot speak French at all, but I think it's Joker Folie à Deux. Is that maybe how you say this?
Sure.
I think it's pronounced. We're gonna stay at home when this comes out. Just kidding. It'll be fine.
Forget about it.
I don't know why we need
That's what
this, but whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, it's strange unless there's a long-term plan to somehow incorporate this into the Batman.
Yeah, but they already
Universe.
introduced a scarred face.
I know. So that's why this is all kind
So-
of like, well, what is this? Whatever,
Yeah.
it's fine. Listen, I enjoyed the first movie. I thought it was great, and
I liked it.
I
Yeah.
remember thinking, I hope this stays as a standalone, cool version of this character, and I had a bad feeling that this was going to happen.
I had a
So
bad
we'll
feeling as soon as the end of the movie was like had a young child Bruce Wayne in the alley with his parents, and I'm like, we really have to do this again?
Here we
really have to do this again?
Yeah. But it
Oh my
also could have just
God.
been a cool way to say, here's how the story could continue and leave it
Yeah.
at that. It could have been,
Yeah.
but
Well, that's
whatever.
not how things that make money work, guys.
yeah,
That's
so it
true.
made a lot of-
That's true.
made a lot of
It did make. I think it's like the second highest grossing like R-rated movie, if not the highest grossing R-rated movie. Like period.
yeah, it's up there for sure.
It's really really high. Yeah, it made a lot of money. A lot of money.
I really did like it. I thought it was very great.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
performances, too.
I just didn't leave it theater going, I want more of that.
Same.
Like,
Same.
I was
Yeah.
just content with what we got.
This
you
is
know?
one of those weird situations where I kind of don't want a sequel to a movie that I really, really liked a lot, and
Yeah.
it's fine. Listen, there was a ton of trailers that it'd be impossible for us to not keep this thing under 4 hours if we tried to cover them all. But any specifically TV show or movie trailers that jumped out to anybody, if you saw
I mean,
any?
Castlevania Nocturne's finally a thing. That's awesome. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, all
Nice.
of these. There's a lot from Netflix Geeked Week. I think Dragon Age Absolution. should
Oh
be
yes, Dragon
exciting.
Age.
Yeah,
Yep.
the animated series set in the Dragon Age universe. It's totally new characters, new story.
You excited, Derek? Huh?
Oh, I think it's more like an anime.
right.
It's more like Castlevania anime. where
Right,
it's like
right, yeah.
American anime kind of.
Right. Yes.
And the Sandman, I'm excited for that to become a thing finally. Like that's been in development. I mean, for years they've been trying to get that off the ground.
With Thomas Hayden Church reprising the role.
Yeah, it's in
From
his
Spider-Man 3.
in his same outfit from Spider-Man 3 that he wore the entire movie.
and he's
sorry.
just gonna look long.
I know this is something else that people love, and I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry, but keep going.
Yeah, no, this is a Neil Gaiman
That's
property. It's like a comic series or whatever, but like he has struggled to get this into live action form for years.
Yeah.
And this series he's actually involved with, and you can see a lot of the visuals look really cool to me.
Well, listen, speaking of stuff that's taken a long time to get to the screen, Black Adam finally has a trailer.
right.
I feel like
Finally got a
The
trailer.
Rock's been talking about this for has to be years, right?
I want to say
Oh,
a
yeah.
decade. I remember him being.
Well, I think it was the
personally
fans
comfortable with,
pushing, right? The
a
fans were
decade
kind of like, "Hey, we want the Rock."
But I
like, that
remember
would be-
him publicly saying things about,
Yeah.
you know, like we're working on this, and I feel like that was like 10 years ago, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, it
I mean, I
feels
feel
like,
like it was around that, like it was around like Batman v Superman time when they were like crowding the DC superhero field for movies, and like they
Yeah.
were like,
And it was
this
like,
guy's
hey,
gonna play the Flash, this guy's gonna play Aquaman,
Yeah.
and
then
like
here's
the
this
Rock was announced at
anti-hero.
that time. Yeah.
Speaking of the guy playing Flash, have you guys been hearing all that stuff?
Yeah,
with,
it's not
with
good.
that?
It's not
What is
good.
going on? What
Ooh.
in the
Well,
world?
my thing is like I'm all about like grace and giving people a chance and not condemning them and firing them in 2 seconds.
Sure.
But that dude, you got to just come out and publicly say this guy's done. And
Right.
We're
Yeah.
just gonna replace him. Like 'cause
No, you need to leave him in your franchises, but kick Johnny Depp out because one person said he did something bad. That's what you should do. Thanks,
Right.
WB. Right?
Right.
That's what. Okay. Cool.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
WB is like, they got to be crapping bricks right now. I imagine them like
Because there was
constantly meeting every day. Like, what are we gonna do? We finished Flashpoint. We finished filming Flashpoint. What the hell are we supposed to do?
'Cause the dude had the-
movie's done.
Just
was
cast
assault-
Matt Mickelson as the Flash.
Yeah. But it was like assault stuff first, and now it's like he's grooming some
Yeah, man.
like young.
It's
like,
bad.
Whoa! Like Jesus, that escalated real fast. Jesus.
Yeah.
Good lord.
At first, I thought he was always
He's
another hot.
assaulting. There were
but he was like
numerous
a-
occasions of assault, apparently.
But I thought he was
in
like
Hawaii.
another hot-headed actor who's full
Yeah.
of himself in bars
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
to
yeah.
stop drinking. I was like, that's another little Russell Crowe situation where I don't
Yeah.
think I like him as a
Or
human.
apparently the
being.
guy who played Homelander had that situation where like,
Right,
he was
and so
like,
it's-
"Do you know who I am?" and stuff, and got
Yeah,
away
yeah,
for it. Yeah.
And it sounded like that, but this, I was
Right.
reading this too, Dan, and I was just like,
Yeah.
yikes.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly there's
Big
some
oof.
problems there.
Anyway,
But yeah, Black Adam, the trailer itself didn't really do much. I mean, I'm gonna see it and I expect it to be fun,
he
but
caught
I
a
don't-
missile. It was fine.
it was fine. You know what I mean? Like we waited
Hey,
that long. and it was
007's in
okay.
it, guys. 007's in it.
Yeah, he's
True.
Dr. Fate. Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be a good role for him.
Yeah.
Listen,
Also
if
during
it can get to Shazam levels of like entertainment and quality, I'm on board, and I think
Yeah,
I'll enjoy
dude.
it.
I ended up liking
So,
Shazam way
that.
more than I expected to, and I ended up seeing it like 5 more times. It was
Yeah, I
such a
like
good movie.
Shazam a lot. So
Uh,
hit those vibes,
Just
and we'll be
be
good.
that. Exactly. So the last thing I wanted to bring up from Netflix is Cyberpunk Edge Runners anime.
This does look cool.
Looks
Studio
really rad.
Trigger. Studio Trigger. Which is a great
They
studio.
did
Promare, is it? Which is an anime movie. They also, I think they're the guys that did.
It's a really good movie, by the way.
Kill la Kill is a Kill la Kill the anime? I forget. Gurren Lagann, I think, is studio. I could be wrong. I'm probably
a good pedigree making this.
Yeah,
series.
very good. Yeah.
And it's set in the cyberpunk world, which that was one of my favorite elements of that entire game was that world stuff. So I'll take it.
All right, guys, we got to jump into the show recaps. As much as I know, there's plenty of stuff we could keep talking about with trailers and all that stuff, but we got to hit some recaps, and then we'll wrap this puppy up. I want to start with the Xbox one. It was the most recent, but to me, it's like the big one. Before we knew anything else was happening, this was like the big one, the Xbox plus Bethesda. By the way, how many years are they going to do Xbox and Bethesda, you think, in the title?
1 year.
This is it? They did it last year, too, didn't they?
No, well, I think... I don't know. I think they were able to do it this year because Bethesda didn't really have much to show. So I don't know. I think
hey guys, Starfield. All you need to know is Starfield is No Man's Sky. Because No Man's Sky looked exactly like Starfield.
Totally.
Yeah, it totally is exactly the same.
God, the ponies are literally the worst.
The ponies can't listen. Can we say this real quick? And it's not just one or two. Like I've seen it. I've actually looked across Twitter and other places. It's very consistent. State of Play was amazing. The future of Sony is bright, and the Xbox show was mediocre at best, if not a disappointment. It's hilarious to read it. It's like, dude, you have no concept of how biased you are right now.
But that's how these things work, you know.
I think if we're just kind of grading them across, none of them stood out of the major ones, right? Stood out so far.
Yeah, I mean, we did freaking live reactions, and not one point during the week did any of us go, "Is that what this is?" Like,
we didn't
none
start
of us
screaming
at any of those moments. So
absolutely,
I was excited about
some fun stuff, but nothing made us go, "Holy
Resident
crap."
Evil 4 remake.
That surprised me. That's
multi-platform. And 16.
But it's off. But Resident 16 we already knew about.
No, I'm saying
Resident Evil 4. Yeah, but Resident Evil 4 remake was cool.
Right.
But again, you also have to go, that's a remake. And if Xbox released that trailer as their big game, it would be everywhere. That's all they got is a remake?
Dude, not only that, even more than the remakes. I think that's a valid point, although I think this remake looks amazing. And the other two remakes, 2 and 3, have proven that these are kind of like new games when they remake them. But that being said, that's a multi-platform game. It's coming to everything. So for them to pretend like that was some amazing PlayStation State of Play announcement, no, they got the exclusive to it, and it
was a good get, but like
it was a good get.
It's on everything.
Pretending like it anyway, whatever. It's not like it's free on PlayStation. Plus.
there was tons of stuff here. I don't want to say tons. I should, whatever. That is multi-platform during the Xbox thing, and I didn't think anything of it. It's either going to be a launch.
It's either going to be a launch exclusive. We saw a lot of that, or it's going to be on Game Pass day one.
Yeah.
So like, to me,
very confusing though. I will admit, I was like, "What? Wait, is it before or after they show a video?"
I was able to keep up with it fine. It's just the fact that they flip flop so much. Like if they had segmented it into here's our console exclusives, and then here's our launch exclusives, which means it's going to come out later on PS5 or whatever, then I wouldn't have had so much trouble. But there were a couple, like I think Redfall and Starfield, they said console exclusive. Like that
did say that
literally means only Xbox.
Yep.
Which is massive. I think there were a couple others.
And those two games
are Redfall is cringy and terrible, and Starfield is just it's
No Man's Sky, but worse somehow.
Dude, if you put any of the Sony first-party studios on the Redfall trailer but didn't change anything else about it, it would be a masterpiece. It would be a Game of the Year contender. Same thing with Starfield. If it was like, oh, Sony Santa Monica made this, and I'm not trying to diss those studios. I'm saying that's the bias people bring.
Or if it was like Deathloop, like sort of thing, right? If it was just exclusive to Sony for like a year, then it would be like, what a great get! What a great get! I
gotta say.
Good for us.
That whole presentation, right? I'll just say it off the bat. I think Starfield will be cool. I don't care about it though, because I'm kind of
that's a bummer.
Like, I mean, I'm gonna get excited when the game comes, but it's not one that I'm like, oh my god, it's coming out in November. Like to me, it's just
Yep.
I think it's good.
I am bummed. I'm so bummed it's not coming out.
It's good, but the highlight of the show for me was 2 games that I thought were cool, and that's I loved getting to see a good in-depth look at Redfall. I didn't think it was cringe. I don't know why some guy posted about it being cringy, but I thought
anytime somebody says the word cringy, they themselves are being cringy. So
or they just don't know how to use the word.
I thought it was. I didn't think any of the characters sounded annoying. I thought the gameplay looked super cool. Yeah. It had like a Back 4 Blood vibe, but you knew it was going to be deeper than that because it's going to have a story. It's going to have a lot of RPG elements and stuff like that. That Back 4 Blood is just an arcade shooter with like card system built in.
I would say it's more, we don't know much about the story or choices or if that even is going to be a thing, but I was comparing it more to like Dying Light 2 because it's first person, and I'm pretty sure it's open world, and that's the point they were trying to get.
The trailer made it clear, play solo or squad up. Wasn't that the trailer that said that?
Yes, I love real clear. I love that they're going with like almost like a Halo vibe as far as you could play this story solo, you'll have AI guys, or you can just bring people with you and have fun. Jump in, jump out. And
you got classes too. The classes really impressed me. Yeah. I was like, give me that telekinesis guy who's
I'm
like
on board for Redfall. And then I thought while we were watching the stream, it was cool or whatever. So, it's another Forza. But when I went back and watched it in 4K, holy shit, does Forza Motorsports look absolutely amazing.
Was anyone else impressed by like the set camera that then zoomed behind the car?
That was
very God of War, right?
Go watch it in 4K. And I'm going to tell you right now, before this game comes out, I'm going to have an 8K TV and I'm going to play that game in 8K on my RTX 3090. Yeah. That game is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm a big I absolutely love
There will be no clothes worn during that. We can guarantee that.
Pants are not optional.
Dude,
they
fully
are not
erect.
out.
They're not allowed.
Just, completely erect.
But those are the 2 games that I was like, oh, cool. This is cool. Nothing crazy. Just like State of Play had a couple games where I was like, awesome. Resident Evil 4, glad it's official. I thought it looked great.
State of Play was also only a half hour, whereas the show was what, an hour and
a half.
Hour and a half.
Games, and this is coming from a guy who doesn't
back.
Probably didn't care for most of them, but I was just like, okay, I mean, on Game Pass, I'll check them out.
Yeah,
like that's what's cool.
Exactly.
About it. It was like
I'll check out Vin Diesel riding the dinosaur on a freaking Game Pass. Are you kidding me?
I mean, the most important announcement, am I right? The most important announcement.
Everyone can make fun of Ark 2 all they want, but my kids are currently hooked on Ark right now.
Are they really?
Household. Everyone's doing the dinosaur thing.
Not a bad game. It's just I've never played it. And
you say my household.
My daughter even came over to the lunch table. I came down to join them for lunch during the work week, and she had tears in her eyes. They just finished playing. I said, "Babe, what's wrong? What happened? Did you get hurt?" She's like, "No, my dinosaur died." Like I was just dude. They're into it. So
I started laughing at her. Like
I showed them the trailer for Ark 2.
Just a video game.
I showed them the trailer for Ark 2, and I showed them the trailer for Minecraft Legends, and those are not games for me. Like they're just not. Like I'm just not gonna be interested in those. But I was just like, dude, the excitement on their faces, and for them seeing that. Yes, they're both 2023, but they're like, they were like writing it down. They want to make sure they get it right away. And I was like, guys, they're on Game Pass. We'll have access to them right away. They were like, oh,
Vin Diesel is gonna be in this game.
I was gonna let my Game Pass go out. It ends at the end of June, but I think I'm gonna up it.
Yeah, re-up it. I thought the Diablo 4 trailer was cool. I'm sure this game's already been. Has this game already been announced and talked about?
So Jeff was.
They've talked about it. Yeah.
I had told Jeff it was announced a couple of years ago. He was like, "What?"
I thought it was.
Immortal and 4 were announced around the same time, I believe. It was 2019. I had double checked. Yeah.
Because this was the final class introduction and the idea that it's
they've definitely talked about it and shown stuff, but this is coming from a guy who doesn't care about Diablo at all. I was watching some of that stuff and I was like, I kind of want to play that with
This looks cool.
Yeah.
It looks like the big boss battle where you can tell it takes a lot of cooperation and a lot of work.
Yeah, I think Diablo is usually 4 players, but if it's more than that, this is going to be on Game Pass. The 5 of us.
I think they're going to do a Destiny thing. I think they're going to have 4-player, but I think they're going to have like hubs where random players, and they probably are going to have like live.
I don't
events.
doubt that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the world event thing sounded really interesting, so I was on board with that.
Yeah, I just thought all of us getting together because it's on Game Pass.
I would totally play this, man.
Yeah, we're totally gonna.
And none of us are ponies anymore, so that helps. We used
I've graduated. Yes, I've graduated.
It does help. You know, the other game that I really am excited for, I realize it's not a console exclusive, but it's coming to Game Pass. I'll 100% be playing it there, and that's A Plague Tale Requiem. Still listed as 2022, but we got a lot more footage that we hadn't seen before of this
game. I need
to
beat the first one then.
And I think it's still little glimpses, right? Like little character moments, little combat moments, little stealth moments. They did a cool job. Whoever did the editing of like she crawls out from under a table and now she's crawling into these weeds. Like very cool segues and
transitions. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so excited for this game, and the fact that they have not bumped it yet gives me hope that it's still a holiday release.
Yeah, twice in the same week.
They
said this year. Yeah.
They really need that, and I think it's Scorn is supposed to come out.
Scorn has a date now. It's got October 21st.
Yeah.
So they really need those games to come out in 2020.
So Scorn looks super interesting because not just is it HG whatever his name is, Geiger, whatever. The guy who's responsible for the artwork of Alien. It's not just that person who's responsible for like the artwork of Alien or inspiring the artwork of Alien, but like the PC gaming show did more of a dive on the gameplay and how things and bodies can be connected to each other, and
that was so creepy looking, man.
How you interact with the environment and how all things can move if you touch a certain. It's really freaking weird. It's like gross. Body horror type of weird stuff, and I am so excited.
Dude, over the next like 7 or 8 months, we have so many gross horror games coming out. Dude. So many.
So excited. So excited.
Yeah, it's like Dan's heaven over here.
Yeah. So much horror.
I wanted to mention there was one. Dang it! Sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna say one of the most anticipated and asked for reveals has been Hollow Knight Silk Song. Yeah, usually Nintendo is being pushed to reveal something, but not only was it revealed here, it's gonna be on every platform, but it's also gonna be day and date on Game Pass, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
Whenever that comes out.
Now Hollow Knight.
Yeah, I know. Me and Dan were both like, "What the hell? No date? We've been waiting so long."
Hollow Knight is a really cool game. I did fall off of it, which I usually finish those. I usually finish those kind of games, but the first one. I got so tired of backtracking, and their fast travel system was not good.
It is such a complex, like weaving in and out of different environments. That game, like it's crazy.
But then there's tons of backtracking to the point where it's not worth it. And so that being said, it was still an excellent game. I thought it was, and I love the art style and really fun to play. This looks really cool. So Silk Song, I have a lot of
and hope awesome that it's funny and pretty awesome that this was supposed to just be a DLC. And then they just like, you know what, guys? Just gonna make it a whole
almost
game,
like Final Fantasy 13 Versus, and it just becomes
that's
not like that at all. Actually, not like that at all.
No, why
I gotta ask you guys, because I feel like one of my negatives with it was like, hey, there's a lot of game announcements, but there wasn't like anything like AAA that was new. But that High on Life, what are y'all's thoughts on that one?
That looked awesome. It's Rick and Morty guys, right?
Yeah, it's Justin Roiland
funny.
who co-created Rick and Morty, and he's voicing one of the guns.
Have an ugly alien face talking to you while you're shooting it.
Right.
Looks funny to me.
It looks so ridiculous.
Gun, right?
Wait, basically all the bullets are coming out of their rear ends the whole time. Is essentially what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Poop bullets. I don't know. I thought it looked funny. I don't know.
It looks funny, but if it translates to being an actual good game or a fun game, who knows?
That's the thing.
Yeah,
but like something that's the thing. Like a lot of this, you need kind of games like this to balance out these like kind of not generic, but like samey type of look. This game has a shooting character,
Yeah, I
that's
think
October, by the way.
I think if everything came out and was like God of War type games where it's super serious and dark and all that,
it'd be exhausting.
I do think even though it's not my type of thing, I think Tim was asking, "Are you into it?" When I first saw it, I was like, "This is a nope for me." But then when they kind of made me laugh a little bit, I was like, Game Pass, I would try it. Yeah. I just didn't know. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's a AAA game. I would think it looks more like a $30 or $40 experience is what it looked like.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, it's actually a really pretty game.
Yeah, it is.
Like if you go watch it in 4K, it's ridiculously good looking. So
the details were definitely there. Riot Games, of course, partnering up with Xbox to bring all the League of Legends stuff. Not interesting to me until they bring some of their other new games that are in the works over.
Yeah, like Convergence. I want to see that.
Convergence, or there's that one, the Song of Nuru or something like that. That one sounds cool. But Flight Simulator 40th Anniversary, this isn't a new game, right?
So I don't think so. I think it's an expansion, and Dan and I are very confused. 40 years ago is 1982. There's no freaking way.
But it is. I googled it. It's like
they can't just say 40th anniversary if it's not actually the 40th anniversary, can they? Can they do that?
I just don't know who would have been playing.
But like, they Goat Simulator over here?
I don't.
But think about it though, 1982. Like, what kind of PCs back at 1982?
Like, they could have done a flight simulator back then. It just might not have been.
Maybe for like the Air Force or something, and then I don't know.
That's probably what it was.
Really crazy.
Yeah.
And then they're going to include the Pelican from Halo as free content, which is kind of cool. Overwatch 2 is a free-to-play game that's going to be on Xbox first.
That's shocking. That's shocking.
It's going to be early access in October, so you'll have access to play it, but it's still a work in progress. They added some ESO and Fallout 76 content, which we'll skip over for now.
So you don't have to pay $60 for that. It's just
it's free to play.
And play.
Yeah.
Cosmetics.
I don't know.
They haven't said anything about that. They just said it's free to play
for
access.
For Overwatch
2. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely have to pay for the cosmetics. So.
Well, I'm just saying that's the route.
That's
probably
probably
could be.
I liked the original. I mean, I only played it maybe 7 to 8 hours, but that's a lot for me for like a co-op shooter or an online shooter that
It's very creative, right? Very bright and colorful.
I played
very
a decent
cool.
amount of that.
I played a good amount. Like, I'll definitely be interested in Overwatch 2. I just think, for me, I think a lot of the announcements is anything that was new was not AAA, and I'm talking about all the conferences. There was nothing like, holy crap, that's a new IP, that's crazy.
There wasn't a Ghost of Tsushima or something.
Yeah, and then everything that was new was kind of lower level, and then everything else that was AAA stuff we were like, day one, I'm buying it, is stuff we already knew about. And I feel like that's what kind of dragged
I think that's accurate.
The shows.
Unless I'm forgetting something, I think that's accurate.
Like, technically, Forza Motorsport is a new IP. Like a new announcement. But everybody knows it was being made.
We were just like,
when
when's
they
it coming
showed
out?
it, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know.
It was just a matter of when is it gonna get released.
Yeah,
that's all it was.
So that's what it felt like.
I think the closest thing to that was again, maybe this is still second tier, but that Wo Long Fallen Dynasty from Team Ninja.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's a pretty big new IP.
That was probably, I didn't mention it, but that was actually the one that I went, ooh, what is this?
Yeah.
As soon as I saw Team Ninja, I was like, what is this?
That one looks really like dark.
Neo 3.
Cool. Like, at first I thought it was maybe a return of
Ninja Gaiden.
That's what I thought it was.
No, the Onimusha. I was like, ooh, Onimusha. But then I was like, wait, that's a different company.
That would have been.
I did say that when they first showed the guy, I was like, this is Onimusha.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Wait, this is Team Ninja. That's not.
Right.
That's Capcom.
That's Capcom.
So I knew then, but at first I thought when the guy was like flipping in the air, I was like, that's Onimusha.
But then I thought, like, is it a Neo spinoff? But then no, it's brand new. Totally brand new, which is very cool. I thought also Cocoon from the people who made Inside and Limbo looked really good.
That's my background, bros. That's Cocoon.
Yeah, I thought that looked really good.
Interesting and weird, right? With the
puzzles and
came out of the Onion.
Calling it right now, it's absolutely terrible.
No, you just don't like art. We
dumbest.
You don't like art.
You don't like art.
Hold on. So you're telling me you weren't aroused when that bug creature came out of the vagina, onion vagina. No?
Can I just talk about that? I just started The Boys, and in the first 10 minutes, a miniature dude is going inside an area that I never ever want to see on film again.
That was crazy, man. That was crazy.
Oh man.
And I had to turn the show off.
I was watching it alone, of course, but I remember as it was happening, I was like, they can't do this. Like, they can't.
This is uncomfortable.
do this. Yeah.
They can't do this.
All right.
The last. Can I shout out Ravenlock, because that's actually the next game from the Echo Generation guys.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
And I hope, but Jeff and I were saying, I hope they like at least streamline this one, because that was the issue with that one. It was clunky and clumsy.
Echo Generation was very easy to get stuck in that game, and it wasn't your fault. It was like the game just put in roadblocks for some reason. You're like, what the hell's going on here?
So
this Ereban Shadow Legacy kind of had a. It reminded me a bit of Origami, so I hope it's not that.
Game looks
Origami
cool.
2 was not good, but I hope this one is good. It looked cool.
Yeah,
You're assassinating robots. Basically.
Did Origami have the way that this person was traveling, the character was traveling on the walls using a shadow? Did it have that mechanic?
It did not have that mechanic.
Oh, okay, because that was cool. Really cool. That was something that Dan and I were like, whoa, look at the way that it's flying around the the walls there to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, using the shadows of the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked good.
That was
and
pretty slick.
I guess for James, I guess, I mean, it's kind of a big deal. Persona
This is a big
3,
deal.
4, and 5,
Yeah.
Persona 3, 4, and 5 coming to Game Pass starting this
can
October.
somebody explain to me why this is a big deal?
Well, it's Persona.
They've never been on Xbox before.
Games. Also, it's
okay, but it's not like not an announcement to get excited.
So Persona 3 and 4 are basically only stuck on like PS2 and the Vita, and then Persona 5 has been like a really strong like PlayStation only RPG. So
listen,
coming to Xbox.
Yes, they're several years too late, but it's something. Like I think they're going to get a lot.
I don't have a problem with it being on. I think it's cool, but it's not something like
it was their third to last.
James should not be making multiple posts about it.
Well, no, obviously
not that.
Of course not. That's why I give him a laugh react and I move on. Yeah.
Okay, but to me the bigger deal was Phil Spencer coming out and saying he's so excited to work with this legend in the industry, and it's Kojima. And I immediately was just kind of like, dude, there's got to be some Sony fan out there who's pretending like they don't care about this, but they're dying on the inside.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
There had to be, because they were convinced it was going to be Here Comes Death Stranding 2 or some other like Kojima plus Sony forever, project. Nope. And now this doesn't mean it's exclusive by any stretch, but it's definitely something he said he's working with Xbox Studios on. So it might be exclusive, and that'd be funny.
Yeah. That Xbox money, some of that Xbox money.
Yeah, man. So I think, but whatever, man. Kojima, I love seeing different companies giving him space to do his thing. And if that's Sony for one game and Microsoft for another, and whatever, that's great, man. I think that's let him do his thing. He's crazy.
I wanted to shout out Hot Wheels. I'm glad that's continuing on Forza Horizon 5. That's really fun on Forza Horizon 3. Yeah. So that looks like a blast. And Sea of Thieves Season 7, the Captain update. Yeah. Holy crap, dude. That looks like fun.
Some next month too.
We're going to have to dive into that.
I will totally play that.
That was a good way to kind of announce it without taking too much time and still being semi-interested.
It's like 30 seconds.
Even though I have no interest in that game at all.
Right.
I just thought it was funny.
If it were another showcase, they would have had the developers on. Like Keeley would have been talking to them. So tell me what about this? It's like, no, we don't need to talk about this, guys. We just saw.
So to be really clear, this is something that people could argue should have been in the game from the beginning. I get it. This is a big knock a lot of people had on this game, was that there's no persistent elements to the game outside of your character and what you're wearing. Everything else starts from scratch. And I totally get that complaint. I also agree. But this is going to save your ship loadout. So whatever designs you put on, it loads up that way. You don't have to go there and like set it up every time you start a play session. Also, you get to set up your captain's cabin. You can actually use things and treasures you found to decorate your cat. So like you can actually show off what you've discovered, what you've plundered.
Until you stop playing like Elder Scrolls, I don't care about you. Like the combat is absolutely terrible in that game.
That's fair. The combat is definitely not.
Yeah, it's not great.
That's fair.
But it's like the exploration
it took
even
Kyle
isn't
and I
that
like
fun.
30 minutes to beat one boss one time.
Dude, that was so infuriating.
So freaking like
how did he have so much health? Whatever.
It was so
by
dumb.
the way, I did look into that. I feel like there was, not only do we know he was probably glitching, but I think he was resetting. Like his health was resetting throughout that fight at various times. I don't know why.
It sounds like Melania from Elden Ring.
It was.
I just like the last.
It was the Elden Ring of Sea of Thieves fights. That's for sure.
Yeah. All they needed was a health bar so we can see like, are we actually doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Last time I played, it was like Gaston joined us. It was Tim, Gaston, and somebody else. And the three of us didn't know what we were doing. And Tim was like being passive aggressive. He's like, "Don't worry, guys. I'll go over there and I'll raise this."
What a weird combination.
The whole time he's being passive aggressive. Then Gaston's like, "I'm lighting everybody
passive aggressive are trying to get the game to work for everybody." But all right, that's cool.
I was like, this is a really fun game.
Lit our entire ship on fire and it sank. And I was just like, all right, I guess we're done playing.
I guess we're done.
Oh man.
I think we actually said we were gonna fight some other ship, but I looked down and our ship's on fire, and I was like, well, all right, this is what we're doing now.
Yep.
I will definitely be playing Pentiment in November too. I think that looks like a game I would enjoy. It's like
our Pentiment.
You play an artist. And it's like a murder mystery. No, it's a murder mystery. It looks like fun, and I like art. So
I do like a good mystery though.
Our Pentiment on that game was positive.
So there's going to be a
sentiment opinion or something.
There's going to be a lot more about Starfield.
We did.
There's going to be a lot more about Starfield over the coming months to talk about. But my general response to that was, I actually understand that people say, hey, there's elements of this that look like No Man's Sky. I thought the same thing, right? Because you're scanning and you're like you use like a laser beam of some kind to get some kind of resources. But not once did I think this looks like, or even the physics mechanics of when you did do that. Like you had to scan, you saw a little rock and you lasered it out of the wall. You weren't lasering a hole right through the wall like you would in No Man's Sky. Like it's very, very different.
I think it's just more the general, like being able to be in a ship, get in the ship, fly out into space, come back down. Like
and that's what I that's 1,000 planets to explore. But here's what I like about it. It's 1,000 planets that have been designed and set up, and you go explore them. It's not procedurally generated random nuttiness, which by the way is kind of a charm of No Man's Sky, to be honest with you. But this is not that. I understand how they're drawing some conclusions there, but I'm like, it's actually a lot more like other sci-fi games that we've seen and played. Like if you watch,
it's more like open Mass Effect Andromeda. It's more like more of that, but first person or optional third person, I guess. Apparently, so you can switch.
Yeah, I thought it looked really good. I thought the visuals looked fantastic. I thought the customization, you can build an outpost, you can build your ship. Space battles, on foot, first person shooting looked pretty solid. The progression, the character creation, like I was so here for it as it's unfolding. Even though I know we talked about this in our chat, I was like, this game's gonna have so much jankiness and
so much.
Temper your expectations.
I still think I'm gonna have a blast with it. I still think it's going to be so fun, and I actually still wish it were coming out on 11/11/22 because I am very excited for this game.
I mean, Bethesda obviously over the years has been known for that, but like with the whole Cyberpunk 2077 like fiasco, like they really need to make sure that this is as like fluid as possible, that it's not kicking people out, breaking
it just needs to. It can't have game-breaking bugs, and it can't be like. If there's one platform that it's just broken on, that's a problem. So make sure it works on every platform. Make sure it's not game breaking, and then it's okay if you patch it to fix up some corners.
Of course,
you know,
this game can't be bug free completely. It just can't.
Right. If it has as many bugs as like Fallout 4, then I think that's tolerable. Like for a game as big as Starfield, I think that's tolerable.
Even if it's on par with something like Witcher 3, I had some crazy Witcher 3 bugs when I played that game. Like there'd be times I'd be mid-conversation and all of a sudden Geralt warped and I was like 100 feet above the guy and I fell to my death. I was like, what happened? How did I go up there? I didn't hit anything.
Teleportation, bro.
You know, so those kind of things.
So it can't be Fallout 76 broken though, because that game was hella broken when that came out.
Right.
Because I feel like there's more excitement around Starfield in general.
I think they probably learned a lot from Fallout 76. Because I went and played it recently just to get like some Xbox rewards, and it worked fine. It played good.
I think they've improved it since then.
Yeah, so I think they know what they're doing. I think the game's going to be good. I didn't watch the whole thing, the whole presentation of Starfield, because like I said, my hype level is not that high. The only thing I cared about, because I know it's going to be a Fallout type game in space, I was like, how does it play? And I know there's been people that have criticized the gunplay, but I thought it looked like
it looks like it'll feel good to play. It looks like
it doesn't need a VAT system, so that means it should be smooth.
That's what I want.
Yeah. So overall, I thought it was a decent showcase. I won't try to put like a number on it or anything, but I thought it was better than decent. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good showcase. I shouldn't say decent because that makes it sound like I think it was average. I did think it was above average. I thought it was a good showcase with a lot of stuff we just listed that I am legitimately excited about. I understand the disappointment of no major exclusive that we know of for the fall for Xbox. I get it, but there's so much on Game Pass and so much coming over the next 12 months, which is very key to remember.
I think that's what to me raises it up a little bit. Again, I wasn't blown away by anything. But the fact that everything was the next 12 months, can they delay some of these? Sure.
They could. Absolutely.
But if you look at the majority of these games, a lot of them are either interesting or good looking.
Yeah.
And for them to be coming out in the next year, and for the fact that, what's the biggest complaint? There's two complaints that people say about Xbox. There's no games, and when they do show games, they're not coming out for another 4 years. So they go and they make an entire show where they don't do any talking, well, barely any talking, and they just show you game after game after game, and most of them are exclusive. Most of them are day one on Game Pass, or I think all of them are day one on Game Pass, and they're all coming out in 12 months. And now we just move the goalpost and we go, oh, they're not very good because they're not a remake and another remake. Oh, Resident Evil 4 and Last of Us Part 1. Who the fuck needs Last of Us Part 1? How is that your closing game?
Derek, everyone.
And that you get the state of play is good.
When someone's mom goes to see in the theaters, right? Oh no, it's not gonna be in the theaters. It's gonna be HBO Max, maybe
on the couch.
By the way, you can.
They're gonna buy Last of Us, the game.
We've only used one F word, so this is still PG-13. You don't have to worry about it.
It's fine. Oh, that's true. Isn't that weird? That's one of the weirdest.
That's such a weird rule.
We're PG-13 right now.
And a titty is fine if you can like
just one, just like a half
sexually show it or something.
Derek, whip it out. Come on, let's go.
I was gonna say that. Listen, we can talk a little bit more about the Last of Us Part 1 remake. We'll get to that.
By the way, I'm gonna play the hell out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm talking as an announcement.
It's gonna be so gorgeous.
Everything you're saying, we'll go ahead and shift over to Summer Games Fest now. But everything you're saying is, I don't disagree with it. Like, it's a valid question for people to say, to at least ask the question, do we need this, or why are they doing this? That's an okay question to ask. It doesn't mean that you're negative on it, won't play it, don't love it. It's just kind of like, this is if you look at the side-by-side stills, okay? Once we see it in motion, I'm guessing it's going to be gorgeous and hands down way better. But if you look at the stills, I'm like,
I see a difference.
I see a huge difference.
No. I didn't say I didn't see a difference. I don't see that much of an improvement. I think it looks different.
I would agree there.
So for example, there's a couple of scenes where it's like, look at the difference between them walking across the bridge here, or the little ladder across the two brick buildings here.
Sure.
I honestly think the remaster looks just as good. It's just one they have vines and the other one they don't. One they have more fog in the background.
I think it's two things that I think are going to be different. I think
just saying it's different.
Like, okay, so you guys made fun of me. This isn't take a jab. It's just true. You guys made fun of me about the Horizon thing. I didn't play it at 60 frames per second because the game was blurry and ugly if I did 60 frames per second. I'm doing playthrough number 2. And I'm doing it. There's a point. I'm doing 60 frames per second. Okay, at 4K.
Yeah.
Game looks really good. Like,
I'm glad you're happy now.
Almost as good as native 4K, but with the smoothness of the 60 frames per second. I think with this ground, like they said, they're going to build it from the ground up for the PS5.
Yeah.
I think they're obviously going to add more details. I'm going to guess there's going to be ray tracing. I can't remember if they announced that. There's going to be ray tracing. I think once you see the game in motion and you feel the 60 frames per second, that's when you'll be like, oh, okay.
When you start to see the dynamic kills, much like Last of Us Part 2, and you start seeing that in this remake and the gameplay footage, you'll be like, oh, that's what they were doing.
And also, don't forget the gameplay of 2.
They're redoing the animation.
The gameplay of 2 was so much better, right? The shooting, the sneaking, like all of that was way better.
Exactly.
Listen, you'd have to be an idiot to say that it's not going to be better or like the definitive version. I understand that it is. I also
about the stills.
I also understand that if someone looks at it and they kind of go like, I don't know if this is something that I needed, but I'm going to play it. I'm going to love it. And I'm sure it's going to be gorgeous and it's fine. But I think anyone and people have been like crushing down on them like they're the dumbest people in the universe for questioning this. I think it's valid to question like, hey, we just got a remaster of this, which by the way, the remaster still looks amazing. For us to pretend it looks rough is so weird to me. But if they were to have taken the remaster and said, hey, here's a 60 frames 4K upgrade for the PS5 for the remaster, it would look amazing.
Look, really to me,
fine.
I think they want less of a disparity between the two.
You guys are crazy.
Only time
Look, I played it on PS5 like right before 2 came out.
But it doesn't
2 years
have.
ago,
It doesn't have.
It was fine. Or
but it doesn't have.
Pro,
it doesn't have 4K 60 yet. I'm saying if they were to have upgraded it to just PS5 levels, I don't think that the game needed the ground up overhaul that it's getting.
This is a
but that's
money
fine
grab,
that they're
but
doing.
I'm not mad at it.
Those two things are separate.
Good.
They don't need to do it. I didn't necessarily want. If they would have given me a menu of things I want from that team, I wouldn't have picked this. That's separate from me saying this is also probably going to be cool and I'll enjoy it. Like,
here's why I don't have a problem with it. There's a lot of dumb internet, I would say, lack of logic, not logic.
Always.
They act like this is being made, therefore it's taking away from something else. No.
He literally said he's working on something.
Is working on multiple things at one time, and I can almost guarantee you it's either a small team or they've got another company doing the bulk of the work.
He said there was, yeah.
And then they're gonna come in and basically be like, let's make sure this is us.
For us to pretend like if they hadn't made this, they would have been Last of Us Part 3 or something, or Uncharted 5. That's silly. That's silliness, because they've got a new IP in the works. They've got a massive Last of Us spin-off that's this multiplayer, whatever world they're building for next year or whenever it's going to come out. So again, I think that line of thought's stupid too. I really do. Like, don't worry about how they're prioritizing their time. They'll do just fine. However they're going to do it. But I do think it's fine to look at something being made or remade or whatever and kind of go like, I don't really need this, but that's fine.
My only issue is the price tag. Well, I don't care if you're
$70 is ridiculous for this.
Round up, if it's
ridiculous.
The same game, $70 is way too high for that.
Are we sure it's the same game though? Or...
So
I don't think it's going to be the same game. You guys are putting a lot of stuff.
Well, no, it's going to be the same. It is going to be the same game, literally.
The story, yes, but I feel like some environments are just going to be way more massive.
Oh, of course. Well,
than the original. I don't know.
That's fine.
I think it's the same game.
That's the same game. But okay. even if it feels very different.
Forward to the game.
They're not making it open world.
No. Listen, I'm
not saying open world. I mean open areas like the Part 2. Like there's a ton of open areas in Part 2.
I feel like Jeff's right. I think they're going to improve a lot of the areas. That's fine. I still don't think it deserves a $70. We don't deserve to pay $70 for this again. I really don't think so. I think that's too much.
I'm wondering if they looked at like if people like literally something as basic as like, all right, so who has trophies for The Last of Us? Like how many people didn't play this game? Is it worth putting in the money to completely remake it? And essentially, again, with just the prettier graphics, better background, and like,
are we going to make more accessibility, guys? Am I right?
All the accessibility.
I can finally play it.
But like, I'm wondering if they just like did the research. They're like, is it worth pumping the money into this project to remake the game that we just remastered, and see some kind of return on it that's worth doing that? Because they probably, I'm sure in their head, they're like, people are probably going to be like, you just remastered this. Why are you like, this seems unnecessary.
They've already sold out some of their crazy special editions and stuff. Like it's going to sell fine. It's going to be monetarily a smart move for them. No doubt about it.
Remaster
That's fine.
was 8 years ago, by the way.
But I think
that's kind of a long time ago.
That is a while ago. That is a while ago.
It was 8 years ago.
It was 2014, right?
Jesus.
Yeah.
I think it was the year after the consoles launched.
Yeah, because I got it with the PS4.
Again, that's not saying that like, wow, this was last year, this is stupid. It's not saying it's stupid. I think it's okay to say I don't really need this, and whatever, it's fine. And also to say $70 is ridiculous.
I can pretty confidently say I don't think I need any games.
I need Final Fantasy.
About what you want.
I still think you're wrong, Jeff, to say, is it the same game? Yeah, it's the same game. It's the same game. They're just improving it.
Gonna be
unless they're going to do what they did with Final Fantasy VII and what I imagine they're going to do with Coder, where it's still the same story but completely different games. They have not dropped any hints that's what they're doing. In fact, when he talked about the game, he just said, it's just going to be really pretty.
I just want to correct you and say the 7 remake is not the same game.
It's pretty clearly the same, like, settings and characters and all those beats.
I didn't say it was the same game. I said The Last of Us is not going to change.
Yeah.
Like Final Fantasy VII.
No, it's not gonna change like that. But Jeff could be right. Like for example, some of those sections where you go through like 4 houses in a garage. They could expand that to be a bigger area with more details, more rooms. They could do all that stuff.
I work at the company. No.
Oh, your uncle works at Nintendo? Your uncle works at Nintendo himself.
He's the naughty dog.
Okay. He's there right now with no shirt on. Okay, cool.
And Neil,
I'm programming the game right now. I
still don't think this is worth $70.
It's not worth $70.
But
all right.
That being said,
still gonna buy it.
There's a completion of that thought. It's okay to think that, I think, but also to think, hey, you know what? This is actually could be really smart. September 2nd at $70. It's $70 for the next couple of months. And then all of a sudden you hit holiday sales, Black Friday sales. Now you can find this game.
It's
gonna
drop
soon.
Yeah. So now you've got one of their big Sony
digital
sales.
Trying to get the fanboys
$50, it's $40,
and they're doing it. So.
Dude,
I'm gonna try to get it on PC cheaper. Is what my plan is.
I don't think this is a dumb move by any stretch. I just don't like the pricing of it. That's all.
But
all
the multiplayer thing is going to be cool.
We kind of
I hope it
we
is.
kind of jumped to the end of the Summer Games Fest live. That was the big closer where he brought out Neil Druckmann, he brought out Ashley and Troy. Like they kind of had a whole big whatever, clearly unscripted moment there, and they talked about this game, about the show. They weren't really sure. Like
I was
talking to them for a minute, and Jeff was like, "I'm still here."
I was speculating with Tim that there might have been an unscripted thing where because Last of Us Part 1 got revealed earlier that day online, that Jeff was trying to get something out of Neil to be like, what are you working on now?
What are you
still directing? And he asked him like 3 times, so
that's because the value of this reveal lost so much.
Oh yeah.
He was trying to close with something big, and Neil was just like, I can't.
But then he said,
sorry, buddy.
I'm not going to reveal it unless someone from Sony leaks it. I was like,
yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, some of the other things that jumped out at me, at least for the Summer Games Fest, I think the Callisto Protocol, which to Kyle's point, which he made to us a lot, they're marketing so hard December 2nd. This would be a surprising delay at this point, even though we talked last week about how
I would be bummed as hell. I would be bummed.
But that would be.
This game has been all over this past week.
That would be a painful delay for them.
They're really advertising it, like having the guy
December 2nd.
Yeah, the guy who's making it, coming out and talking about it all the time. So he's definitely hyping it.
Dude,
also,
I'm so excited.
Call me crazy. I think they want this to hit before the Dead Space remake. I don't think they want to put it in the same window. Like,
why do you even need Dead Space remake? This looks like Dead Space.
This looks amazing.
I'm wondering if they, with the Dead Space remake, they kind of almost want to like restart the series, get the excitement in it again. So, but I mean, I do feel bad for the Dead Space remake because I have a feeling that this game is just gonna like be better to play. Like it's just gonna feel better and be more interesting.
The gameplay looked pretty fun, man. Some of the stuff you could do in that game looked pretty fun. I also thought that Modern Warfare 2 was looking pretty sharp. I thought that looked pretty amazing.
Every single time I see some type of COD gameplay shown off, except for Vanguard, I wasn't really impressed by that gameplay. But like Black Ops Cold War, and like every time they would show a campaign of something like that, or this one, for example, it's like, holy crap, look how good these games look. And it shouldn't surprise me now, but it still
think
does.
They need to make some changes to the campaign. So I really think with COD, I know they're really gonna try to do a new stuff with their multiplayer because they realized Vanguard did not do well. And I think it's not just Vanguard. I think they're seeing the decline and they're going, okay, we can't just copy and paste. But I really wish they would try to change the formula of the campaigns and not just go with the same formula with little subtle changes. I really think they could do something awesome. Yeah. One of these companies needs to do it. Either Battlefield or Call of Duty needs to go, we're not going to half-butt the campaign anymore. Here's this full story. You make the choices. It's your character. Make it an RPG.
That'd be cool.
First-person shooter.
Almost kind of like Street Fighter, how they're adding kind of like a exploration sort of thing to it, like just really like just kind of flip it on its side,
No, I understand what you're saying. I do think the 2019 Modern Warfare felt like a refresh for COD in a lot of ways on the campaign. That doesn't mean they can't improve it, and it was still, you're right, it still had a lot of the same ingredients. It was just really high quality, and they did a good job of kind of revisiting all that lore from the first Modern Warfare trilogy, and I am excited to see what they do with this one. But I'm not opposed to what you're saying. I actually think long-term Call of Duty future could end up being where Warzone is their ongoing, this is the main multiplayer thing that everyone plays, and they start releasing essentially story missions or story packs you can buy as add-ons every fall. They add a new story campaign you can play, and it might be less of a releasing a full game and more of a subscribe. I don't know if that's going to be what it looks like, but and they'd have to really, of course, build out what do those numbers look like if we don't sell $60 games. What subscription model do we need to make up for that and to make more money? But I could see that happening. I could see them, because Warzone is, by the way, it sounds like an unmitigated success. So anyway, they
built that out of the first Modern Warfare, didn't they? The first reboot.
The 2019.
It was, because that game's actually hard to find and purchase because it just Warzone shows up. If you go to like most digital stores and you're trying to find first Modern Warfare, it's actually kind of hard to find. At least it was for me on the PS5. I was like, where is this? I know it's on, but Warzone kept, I guess I have to download Warzone and then maybe buy Modern Warfare through that menu. I'm not sure.
I actually do still occasionally play the Modern Warfare multiplayer. And so basically when you pull it up, it actually even shows like Vanguard. It'll show like Vanguard, Warzone, and then Modern Warfare. So it basically has like a main screen that shows all the Call of Duties, and you kind of
almost like Hitman had all the Hitmans in the hub.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I have to download Warzone in order to get Modern Warfare.
Well, how did you purchase Modern Warfare initially?
No, I was just trying to buy Modern Warfare on the PS5. I was like, I want to play through this again. So I went to the PlayStation Store, and you literally cannot find a listing for Call of Duty Modern Warfare on its own.
Why wouldn't you buy it for PC and then on PC?
Yeah, I could buy it
way cheaper.
I could buy it through the Battle.net.
That's weird though, because I rebought it the digital because I originally had physical, and then I bought it digital. I think last year.
I just was searching on the PlayStation 5 store. I'm telling you, I couldn't find it.
That's weird. That's weird.
Anyway. It could just be an old man moment. I thought as far as new IPs go, and I know this has been talked about before, this game apparently was announced a long time ago, but just now is getting revealed in a really strong way, is Witchfire. And that's going to be an early access supposedly before the end of this year on Epic Game Store. This game looks amazing. It's the team that made Vanishing of Ethan Carter. So they're coming out of kind of more of a mystery adventure. People would call it walking simulator. But if you remember that game, the visuals, the environments looked phenomenal. They did it. They used this. I was reading about it. They used this technology they call photogrammetry, I think was the word it was. It's the word I never.
That sounds about right. That sounds about
photogrammetry technology, and so that creates these realistic environments that kind of continue to move even when you're not looking at them. It's like this really cool technology that they used. So they're using it for Witchfire, and of course now they're adding in what looks like kind of some BioShock, maybe Borderlands style of combat and fighting, and it looks really cool. I thought the setting of fantasy with guns just looked awesome.
Yeah.
So
the movement was really slick. Like he was doing like this sideway dash sort of thing. Like,
and it's one of those things we talked about this too when we reacted to it. Like it depends on how it feels. It looks cool, but if it isn't fun to play, it could just be a mediocre game. But I am also hopeful that it's good, and I will definitely give it a shot when it comes out. Marvel Midnight Suns still don't have a lot of gameplay info on this game outside of impressions. It's mostly just cinematic trailers we keep seeing, but we do have a release date of October 7th. Folks are describing it as a deck building game with XCOM elements and with Persona type relationship, maybe building.
Yeah,
elements.
When you're not doing combat or missions, you're at a base and you're going around talking to
like Mass Effect and Persona type.
Going around talking to superheroes that you know.
Yeah,
because you're
actually building relationships.
Superhero, so.
But actually building relationships that apparently have an effect on the battlefield as well. Like, so think Fire Emblem.
That'd be really funny if like you pissed off Ghost Rider, and then when you ask him for help in the battlefield, he's like, no.
Well, like,
but it's Nick Cage, right? It's Nick Cage.
No,
Fire Emblem does this too, where you walk around and talk to people and build relationships and either spend time with them or do a mission or whatever to help them out. And then in the battlefield, if you're fighting side by side, you give each other this a boost in the battle, some kind of stat increase in the battle. So
that's cool.
I don't know if this is going to be that, but that's what I'm imagining based on the descriptions we've heard. But what I think was far and away one of the funniest moments, really, of all these trailers was we were reacting to it live. Dan and Kyle and I
watched,
and we were like, dude,
that moment. Yeah.
Here comes Dead Island 2 again. Like they finally are bringing this back to life. It looks like, and I saw Coffee Stain, which I know they published a whole bunch of stuff. I didn't connect the dots that they created and published Goat Simulator, but I knew they had published, Valheim and a bunch of other kind of indie mid-level games. But anyway, so it does essentially the whole Dead Island 2 trailer, but instead of zombies, it's goats in the background while the guy's jogging, listening to his headphones. So funny. And then to top it all off, after all that madness, is they go right to Goat Simulator 3, which was, to me, just one of the funniest and dumbest marketing moves, because there's no Goat Simulator 2. Just to confirm, there is no 2. I had to look it up just to be sure. There is no 2. They just went right to 3, which I think is just so funny and so fitting.
Yes, absolutely.
that makes me laugh real hard. That's damn.
They don't give an F. They don't give an F.
No,
we're just going right to 3, guys.
Oh, it's great. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
that was good. That was fun.
I thought that was great. Midnight Fight Express, Neon White, a couple of really cool looking action games. Of course,
Neon White looks so cool aesthetically, but like I was saying, like the combat just doesn't do it for me.
Now it is coming out this coming week, so we'll have a chance
this Thursday.
Yeah.
See some reviews on it too. But yeah, I had like, Ghost Runner vibes a little bit, but with shooting, and I don't know. We'll have to wait to see.
Cards.
Also coming out this week is TMNT Shredder's Revenge, which not only is it coming out this week, we've been waiting for a release date for a while, but 6-player multiplayer, that's amazing.
Yeah.
There's not many
Casey
games
Jones, man, finally played
Casey. Yeah, Casey's in there. So I am excited for that. That looks like a lot of fun.
Nostalgia.
Another Q4 new IP that I am looking very much forward to is Nightingale. I won't talk too much about it, but to go check out the trailer. The style and the setting and also the gameplay, it's got that survival and crafting mixed with some RPG, and there's some card elements, but looks like there's actually action too, where you're aiming and shooting. It's hard to say exactly what the gameplay is, so I'm a little confused by it while also being very intrigued by this game as well. I think it looks really cool, so hopefully that one delivers. I wanted to mention too that Nightingale it's from a new studio that was founded by a former BioWare head, Aaron Flint.
Yes.
And this guy is no stranger to some epic games and
Dragon Age.
Really cool gameplay systems. So I think the pedigree for this one is there. It's just a matter of,
what's the game you're talking about?
Nightingale.
Did the Dragon Age call there?
Yeah, that
guy's
I
don't remember it.
And I think that's pretty much all I wanted to highlight for this. Anything else you guys wanted to call out?
Layers of Fears, I've played both of them. I've played both of the existing one. This is a weirdly titled game. Just call it Layers of Fear 3, but whatever. I'm excited for this.
Multiple fears, Jeff.
The Bloober team does first-person horror really well, where like you're just literally walking around and just getting scared by shit, and it's pretty fun.
I still think Bloober sounds like the thing that comes out when you sneeze. I still think that's
it's a weird name, especially when they try to do serious games. But
Bloody Buggers.
American Arcadia looks kind of fun. It's kind of got this like weird cartoony art style, but it's by the Call of the Sea dev. And we both beat that on your recommendation. It's actually a pretty good game. So it's kind of that art style, but like the premise is really, really freaking cool, where it's you play characters that are in a reality show, but they don't know it. So it's like a Truman Show thing.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to break out of that situation. And it seems like gameplay wise, the perspective shifts. Like you're playing one person in first person that's in a building trying to hack certain cameras and stuff. So as a third person, in a third person point of view, another character can platform away from drones and cameras and run away from a certain situation. Cool. So like it seems like a more ambitious game than Call of the Sea, which was just kind of a walking around, discovering clues, doing some puzzles.
I remember when we were watching this live, I think it was just missing parts because we were talking. But then when I went back and watched it, I was like, this actually looks really interesting.
Could be interesting. Also, in a do we need it category, Aliens Dark Descent. Stop making these. That's the only reason I included it, because I wanted to be like, hey, stop making these same exact Alien games.
Also, for the love of God, like
just make Isolation. Make Isolation 2.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
also these trailers are just like all CG, and then they just like shove like 3 minutes of 3 seconds of gameplay at the end. It's
like,
was that
gameplay?
Action?
Yeah, like couldn't you just wait? You couldn't just wait.
Squad-based isometric. Oh, it's over. Okay,
exactly. Like
that's pretty much how it went. A couple other showcases I wanted to highlight, but before we do that, overall thoughts on Summer Games Fest. I think the general reaction was that it's awful, but I just thought this one I did think was truly
none of them were off.
I thought this was average, not bad, but the more I looked back on it and what was actually revealed compared to what we kind of knew, the leak did hurt them a bit, but I just thought it was average, maybe above average.
Well, last year
this is the one where I thought Xbox was actually great this year, because
I've been reflecting on these a lot more today, and at first I thought, no, they're both really good, and I was like, no, Xbox was really good. This one was
Summer Game Fest for me was always, even first impression was like always just okay.
I think I was overhyped.
I wasn't shown a bunch of games that I would play a lot. So
the Elden Ring was that last year when Keely got the Elden, so that was a big deal. So that was,
it's finally time.
I think they kind of, for me, the expectations were lowered because Jeff Keighley even came out and said, we don't have a lot of like new stuff. So if I would have gone into it, if I would have gone into it expecting, which I imagine a lot of people online were probably, they were still doing it. So they're probably like, where's the brand new AAA IPs, blah, blah,
where's
blah.
the next Elden Ring announcement?
Yeah, and that didn't come out, so then they're disappointed. But for me, I thought it was fine. I put it low. If I had to rate the 3 big ones, it's probably the lowest. I found more things intriguing in State of Play and then Xbox Showcase, but it still kept my interest. I wasn't bored during it.
It's the closest thing we had to a Nintendo Not-E3 showing because they had a couple commercials in there, but nothing new, of course. It was literally just ads, is what it was.
Are they doing anything? Is Nintendo
nothing announced.
do anything?
Nothing announced. Okay. Yeah. Again, they're just sitting over there counting their money, laughing because they were like, "We don't need to do anything. We're good."
Like, with their monocles.
Derek really bought Mario Strikers. We literally did nothing with that game.
I mean, they have essentially a major game coming out every month for the rest of the year, and so
yeah, they don't care.
They're gonna be fine.
They're just sitting there like Scrooge McDuck, swimming in their money.
Yep,
fine.
Yep.
Well, I mean, they are releasing what I consider quality content because the Switch is my least favorite console. I don't usually touch that thing at all unless there's like something amazing coming out, and they've got me hooked. I'm finally playing games on their system.
Yep. Over the next several months, they've got, of course, they had Mario Strikers this past week. They've got Fire Emblem Warriors. They've got Live Alive and Xenoblade 3. And then, again, not everything's going to hit for everybody. Like Splatoon 3 arrives in September. That's a pretty big one. And then I don't know if we'll hear anything about Bayonetta 3, but if so, that could be the August or October game, maybe in one of those spots. And then, of course, we have Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in November. So they're fine.
That's a big year. That's a big year.
They're fine for the rest of this year. And so if they didn't do a major direct, I wouldn't be that surprised, although I'd love to see one. All right. Devolver Digital.
This freaking showcase.
You got to go watch Dan and Jeff's reaction to this, first of all, on YouTube. Go check that out. But I think they are very self-aware of what these things are and how they can set themselves apart. And they've been doing this for years now. This is nothing new. They did it on a live stage, even, which, by the way, I love the edited kind of filmed beforehand versions way more than the live versions. I don't like the live stage ones nearly as much that I've seen of theirs. This reminded me of when I used to go to Kings Island. We talked about roller coasters a couple episodes ago. At Kings Island, they have a ride there that was called The Outer Limits, and it used to be based on that sci-fi creepy show. I forget what it's called. I think it was called The Outer Limits. But
it was, yeah. I was like, you just called it that.
Is that what the show was actually called?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and they had, as you're going through the line, of course, at the beginning when it first launched, the line was like 3 hours long, right? Some crazy line. But a lot of it was indoors, which was nice in the summertime. And they would have these TV screens with speakers everywhere, and it felt like you were in Area 51. There was alien stuff everywhere. And you're watching what looks like security feed footage, but it's clearly a skit. And it was about 30 minutes long. It was like a cheesy episode of them discovering this thing and oh no, there's an alien goop that's going to kill everybody. It was the whole.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what Devolver did. They kind of use that same cheesy, tongue-in-cheek, but really fun. It's hard not to watch it. It's very self-aware. And some of their jokes, my favorite joke by far was when they talked about Annapurna and Mountain Dew merging. And then the guy goes, "Oh man, they're gonna make a Journey soft drink." So I thought that was really funny. But yeah, I thought it was pretty crazy. And what's also funny is they only showed, I think it's a total of 4 games.
Right.
We talked about.
They actually, that's been regular for them. Whenever they do their half-hour zany conference,
they publish a lot of stuff, but they just pick a handful to highlight.
Yep.
Call to the Lamb, which is now coming out August 11th, looks insane and violent, like we've already seen several times. You can go try the demo if you want. Angerfoot, which we talked about, which is literally an angry foot. The Plucky Squire, which did we talk about that one yet?
No,
not yet. That game looks incredible, though.
That game looks amazing.
Yeah. Like the cartoony look of it is really just nice and whimsical, and then like unexpectedly just pops out like it's Toy Story.
I hope it's not like Trek to Yomi where the visuals just blow your mind, but it's not fun to play. I hope it's actually fun to play, but man, it looks charming.
It looks like kind of like you're jumping from. It reminded me of like It Takes Two and Lost Words, where like you're fighting in a book and then you jump into another like he was platforming and fighting on a coffee cup.
Yeah, he was on on a
can. So that reminded me of Zelda
desk and
two something. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
What was the Zelda 3DS game?
Two Worlds or two something?
Yeah, that was a good one. So I showed this trailer to my kids as well, and as soon as it started, my son goes, "What is this? It Takes 3?"
Nailed it. Gotta get him on the podcast.
Yeah, I know. He's gonna replace me. He's way better. And then lastly, they did show Skate Story, which kind of had this like a crystallized skater doing.
Yeah, that had interesting visuals. Yeah.
They had an acid trippy vibe for sure.
It did. So that was pretty cool. Day of the Devs had a couple interesting things. The one that made me just crack up when I saw it, I was like, Kyle's gonna love A Little to the Left, because basically you are organizing things in your home, like on a shelf, for example.
Oh my god!
I'm not kidding. And then every once in a while, there's a cat that's going to come in and knock it off because that's what cats, But then apparently it starts to get crazier, and there's like some weird sci-fi elements and stuff. But like,
what?
This is
sci-fi elements?
I'm serious. I don't know if it's sci-fi.
God.
I don't know if it's sci-fi, but some kind of like extra, some kind of spiritual something
besides cats, right?
Yes.
So dumb. That is so stupid.
It's called A Little to the Left. And so as soon as I saw it, I just died laughing. I was like, I have no interest in this, but I'm gonna have to play it and talk about it on the show just for Kyle.
We all should, including Derek, obviously.
I thought that Shim looked really cool. Shim is basically, think like Frogger, but if done by like an art house indie studio because of the way the shadow.
You're talking about a transgender game. Shim?
Shim.
God damn it, Derek.
It's a new pronoun.
God damn it.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Damn it.
Anyway, the idea is to stay. You're like you're a little
CHIM.
Yeah, you're a little frog-looking creature, and you have to stay in the shadows as you traverse through the city. The art style looks really cool here.
What gender
Or it could
is
be
the frog?
Skim. I don't know.
It could be Skim. I think it's Shim. Skizza? No.
What gender is the frog? That's the most important question.
It's a Shim. It's a Shim.
It's a Shim.
And then one of the wackiest games that kind of got overlooked. I just kind of saw the still of it, so I clicked on it. It's called Choo Choo Charles. Apparently, it's been talked about for a while. People have known about it, but you navigate in an old train. It looks real. I watched the trailer. It looks creepy, man. It's really dark, and like you're literally being chased and hunted by this giant evil spider train named Charles. So it's Choo Choo Charles, and you are using these massive like Gatling guns and weapons to hold him off and shoot him in his face and his big evil clown train face.
It's creepy as hell.
And
it's like the Nemesis,
but this is crazy.
I don't know, man. But you also can like upgrade your train and stuff like that. Like
you're trying to get off the island, right?
You're trying to escape.
Yeah.
Charles, Choo Choo Charles.
It's like Nemesis vibes, but it's a spider train. Like
yeah. Anyway,
mutants are the future, Charles.
That little X-Men reference.
I don't know why. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry.
Goddamn.
Sir Ian McKellen, I apologize.
So IGN had their Summer of Gaming, hosted by Damon, and there were some cool things here, but nothing that really is worth talking too much about. I thought Gungrave Gore looked really stylish and cool.
Mm-hmm. And you played the Unliving, right? You played the demo.
I did play the Unliving, which so far, at least performance-wise, not the most amazing experience. I thought Forever Skies looked cool, and it is being recommended to me since I played V Rising and Valheim. Comes out in early access later this year. But the idea, of course, being you're trying to scavenge resources and build, and it's one of those survival builder kind of games. Looks pretty cool though.
Great.
Wanted Dead, I thought looked really cool. It's basically this hybrid slasher shooter. This is the description they have for the game. A new hybrid slasher shooter from the makers of Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive. The game follows a week in the life of a zombie unit, an elite Hong Kong police squad on a mission to uncover a major corporate conspiracy. So you are using a gun and a samurai sword.
Zombie unit. That's funny.
Yeah, the gun. It kind of has that like charming campiness to it that I thought looked like it could be fun.
I'll look that one up.
So I thought Wanted Dead looked pretty fun.
We can skip Netflix Geek Week because we already talked about the trailers that were the most interesting from it, in my opinion.
Okay.
Tribeca. I just wanted to mention Oxenfree. That's it. Oxenfree 2.
Still no release date.
But you and I pointed out it looks like the first one. It looks
so much like the first
one. So
one.
similar to the first one, just a little bit better looking. Like,
maybe.
But the graphics look so similar that
you
and I are like, just release it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
They gotta write the story and do the whole thing.
That's true. There's a lot of dialogue they gotta write because those characters. This is probably gonna be Derek's least favorite game.
That's a talky
yappy man, and you have to cut them off sometimes too, and be like, all right, next topic. And it's cool. That's cool because the game they program it to interrupt naturally and organically. When you interrupt somebody's conversation, it doesn't sound unnatural ever.
Yeah.
Which is very impressive. I did like the first one a lot. I just move it along. Come on, what's going on with this one?
So Derek,
you did add all these PC gaming show notes, which is awesome because there's a ton of stuff. If you have a PC and you're interested in seeing what's going on next, there's so much stuff here and add-ons to games that are existing and all that. Anything jump out at any of you if you saw this?
I didn't watch the show.
The Invincible is from the new dev that is made up of CD Projekt Red and Techland people. So that one, there's no date on that, but that one is a first person, almost like a Firewatch type game where it's sci-fi. So like you're on a different planet and you're like trying to figure out what went wrong there. There's robots malfunctioning and stuff, and you're in like a spacesuit. And I don't know if there's combat yet. They didn't show any.
Like Witcher and Dying Light mixed together, but in space.
Yeah, so I don't know. No idea if there's combat. She was just carrying like a radar and talking to somebody that's in a ship somewhere. So I have no idea what that's about. But that one looked really impressive.
I feel like the Outriders World Slayer thing has been advertised in every presentation.
So has Cuphead. I swear to God, Cuphead. That looks delicious course or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, we know it's coming, guys. Come on.
Yeah. System Shock remake looked pretty creepy.
Yeah, that did look cool.
Oh, did they actually show that finally?
Yeah. They showed some remake gameplay, and it doesn't look like a 2022 shooter. It looks like really upgraded graphics from the original.
It has like a.
That's interesting.
So it looks really good.
I like it though. It looks smooth, even though
it's got a cool style.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Immortality, even though it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's the Telling Lies and Her Story developer, and so it's you have to cycle through 3 different movies to figure out what happened to an actress that's missing.
That was cool, and you can focus on something that takes you to another scene, right?
Yeah, you can, and you can like edit it so it's like a smash edit.
But it's real footage, like from 40 years ago, right?
No, he shot that and he made it look like that's his thing. He does all this stuff. The guy who the main person who directs this shoots all this stuff for real and then edits it into a game somehow. Really I don't get it. But I will look forward. I look forward to checking that out. And Agent 64 Spies Never Die is literally GoldenEye. It is literally GoldenEye.
Really now?
Yes. They're not even trying to hide it.
There is a demo out right now, and I didn't have time to play it because I just found out about it.
Is it on Steam?
Yes, it's on Steam.
Spies Never Die. Well, yeah, that sounds like
almost every one of these games is on Steam for wishlist or demo or something, basically. But yeah, that's
my God, this does
exactly the visual style, the gameplay that they showed. I was like, this is GoldenEye.
Agent 64.
This is a Nintendo 64.
Well, it's like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. It's both of those, right?
Yeah, it's like they didn't change. It's
dude, this mansion mission they're showing. I swear it's the Perfect Dark main level.
But it's like 60 frames. It's like GoldenEye if they just could make it 60 frames. Like
they stuck to the 64-bit
explore
graphics.
This says accomplish rated objectives and fight against state-of-the-art 1997 enemy AI.
Dude, that's
I'm so on board with this.
I gotta play that demo, man. I gotta play that. I just didn't have time. Deliver Us Mars looked really impressive. Do you guys remember the game Deliver Us the Moon from a couple years back?
I never played it, but
this is a sequel, and I remember really wanting to play that game because it was like first person in space. It looked really impressive. Yeah. And there's the sequel right there coming out this year in September. That's all I think that's all I got from the PC gaming.
Cool. Well, that's a lot. There's even more stuff, I'm sure, but those are the things that jumped out at us.
I just made sure to list everything so everybody.
I thought it was an overall pretty fun Not-E3 set of events, and we've got some more this week.
We got a couple more.
We got 10. Ones. We got 10 minutes of Square Enix, guys.
People can criticize all they want, but there have been way worse E3 years when there actually was E3.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was a lot to be excited about here. But anyway, I'm glad you guys were able to take time to do our show tonight. This is Sunday night, so I got to get this thing posted. I know we also have work tomorrow. It's late for you East Coasters. So thank you for being here. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you go check out YouTube. We're adding more content.
I'm a stripper now, so I work the nights.
Wait, now? Hold on. You haven't been this whole time? Assumed.
Just now he became a stripper and took his clothes off. Just now.
He was a stripper in training. He was a stripper in training before. Now he's full on.
I already told you we're not paying you. All right. You guys have a great week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you. Bye.
Oh, I want your tip.
Derek's titties.
Derek.